To the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
First order of business, through the minutes from last week, as usual.
Also moved.
Don's moved,
All second.
Tim seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Nothing consent. Miscellaneous motions, move to approve legal holidays for Coffee County employees during the calendar year 2022 and New Year's Day 2023.
Denise, is that New Year's Day, January 2nd, does that need to be moved up for vacation on Friday? Same thing we did this year.
I don't know. The only reason we did it that way this year was because the state was closing on that day. So we usually would go the other way.
How consistent we need to be, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem either way, as long as it's workable and somewhat consistent.
Yeah.
That does move.
That's the first time we've ever had to do that, so I don't know what you want to do.
I thought you guys mentioned here a while back that if the holiday was on a Saturday, you recognize it on Friday. If it was on Sunday, you recognize it on Monday.
That's correct.
And that's what I've always
That would
done,
be the
but this time the
And I have no
state-
problem.
That's
It's
correct.
working consistent.
I'll move. Jesse's moved.
All second.
Tim seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Move to approve paydays for Coffee County employees during the calendar year 2022. We can table this till we speak with HR partners, Christina and Dimitri at 9:15, 9:10 or so, if you wish. But what it is changing the pay dates.
This is no change. It's the last business day of the month. All this says is when they actually get their check.
I'm sorry.
Still get their check at the same time, but the
Yeah,
pay
no
period,
matter what you
pay
do.
period's the middle of the month now.
Oh, okay.
Will be the middle of the month versus end of the month.
Several things going through my mind, thank you.
Yeah.
So, never mind what I said. Just the pay dates.
Yeah.
Not pay periods. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Tim moved,
I'll say.
Don seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. So, with that, Lindsay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Lindsay.
Good morning. I have some pictures that I'll show you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a property that I'm asking to waive landfill fees. It is owned by Stephen and Marjorie Gifford. It's 905 St. Lawrence. They also own 802 St. Lawrence. They're planning on cleaning this property up. They're planning on cleaning this property up, but when they got into it, they just realized it was way more work than they were willing to do at this time. So they're wanting to tear it down and then eventually build something new. So,
Just asking for landfill. fees.
yep, just landfill fees, yep.
This is my district, I'm aware of the house, and it's been an
Been unoccupied.
issue for a while,
Yeah.
so I'll make a motion. Wait, landfill fees on this.
Okay, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Pam Scott. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Pam Scott, Burlington, Kansas for 40-some years, and I'm here to request a nomination from this group for a grant I'm applying for. It's called HEAL, which is Historic Economic Asset Lifeline. The timeline's pretty quick because I'm signing up for the emergency grant and it ends this Friday, December 19th. I'm not a procrastinator. I'll let you know the timeline. I went to an Association of Kansas Theaters conference in October from the 22nd to the 24th in Salina. Then I turned around and went to the Kansas Historic Theaters Association on October 27th in Wamego, and I joined that group, so I am now a member of that. And Lieutenant Governor David Toland came there and informed us of this new grant that they have offered, and called the HEAL. He said there would be a webinar coming up. They would notify us. That webinar was on November 8th, and I attended that. And it was put on by the Commerce Development people, the Kansas Main Street, and the Office of Prosperity. They've all partnered together to get this grant going. There are two ways to apply for it: the emergency, which I have done, and then what they call the regular, and that one ends December 20th. If I'm approved, they will notify me November 23rd. So it's a quick turnaround, as you can see. If I'm approved, construction must begin by February 1st, 2022. And I have to have one-to-one match grant to the grant by September 30th, 2022. On the grant, we can use any monies that we have from other grants as that match. And I have already been awarded the Heritage Trust Fund grant. And so what's left on that, I can use as part of that matching fund. The work that has been completed on the Plaza Theater, which I'm talking about, has been the roof, the left side of the facade. I've got an architect hired, TK Architects of Kansas City. Mike Cummings is the owner of that. Ted Knapp used to have it, and he was from this area. And Mike Cummings grew up here in Burlington, so they were both on board with helping, and that's how I found out about them. Also completed is partial electric. I've had to break that down into components to get that done. So the part of it, the new panels have been put up. The 5 old ones with the fuses have been taken out. And so the new ones are in, and we at least have temporary lighting so we can work inside. I also have encumbered monies for the neon. You might have noticed the marquee's been taken down. So I have encumbered monies for that, encumbered for the next part of the electric, which means moving everything from the south side, no, from the north side to the south side for the marquee lighting, plus a smaller panel that's going to have to be installed at the front of the building. The facade, I'm waiting on bricks. They have to match what's out there, and I've contacted Eldon Butler in Texas, and their building got destroyed during the winter Arctic ice that came through. It collapsed their building and took out all of their gas lines, their electric. Then the flood came through and got them. So they've just now got up and running. They were testing last week, Monday, their furnaces. So I'm hoping that my order will be coming in the near future. So those are the encumbered things I have. The request for the grant is described in this handout I will give you. Like I said, the turnaround is pretty quick. if I'm awarded a nomination letter from you, it states in here what you need to say if you're supportive of that. It will meet the needs of you're gonna have to describe how it meets the needs of the downtown district and how expertise and assistance will be provided to the building owner, which is me, in developing the underutilized building into an economic asset, should it be submitted by you. And this grant is for buildings that they want to see brought back in the downtown corridors of the communities to be used as productive spaces and bring in economic progress for us. So I want to make sure that you know, you hear the name Pam Scott, and I know that you have supplied funding for the Coffee County Council for the Arts. I'm president of that organization. I'm talking two separate things. They are not together. That's a whole nother issue. This is on my own for the Plaza Theater. I will leave a handout with you. And if you have any questions, I have my email on here, and feel free to call me. I'm in the book. I have cell phone, whatever. You can reach me, Facebook. There was something else I needed. What did I need to say?
Ms. Scott, what's your ultimate goal for the theater?
To make it an event center and bring it back to a movie theater also. It would have a stage presence, and then revenue from the stage performances, I would hope, would help to bring in the projectors and the screen and things like that for a theater also, movie house. So.
The grant that you're gonna be looking forward to, what's the dollar amount of the grant that you're wanting to secure?
The maximum is 75,000.
75?
Uh-huh.
Will your project qualify for that?
Yes, yes. It has to be in the downtown corridor. Lieutenant Governor David Tolan pointed out mine because he travels 75 a lot. And when he found out I was at the meeting, he used me as an example several times as the main corridor, well-seen, parking in the back, ready to go. And since I've had one grant approved, they thought I was an excellent candidate. I could get it turned in. I already have the grant all filled out, everything, all the pictures, all the everything. So all I'm waiting for are nomination letters. They have to be sent to me email. I know that's a little tough, but everything's on a submittable form that they have, and it has to be sent through that. So.
How close are you to being, maybe not complete, but I mean,
Oh, not even close.
say, do you have a dollar amount to reach that goal that you know of, or?
Well,
I know costs change yearly, especially now.
right, they're increased. From what the architect gave me a couple of years ago when he did the survey, and he brought down a team and they went through everything, and all of those things came up to 110,000 just to get it ready to be used. Yeah, but didn't include everything. So that's that.
Just so you could do the performances like you were talking about, the 110,000. So the 75 would go a long way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the little things that are taking a long time right now, because with the historic, Heritage Trust Fund is the grant I have. And with that, through the historic preservation, I have to get 3 bids on everything. They have to approve the contract before I can sign it. Then it comes back and it's signed. Then it has to go back to them to make sure the signatures are there and it's in their files. Then I can get started on the work. It's tedious.
A lot of work for you.
Yeah, a lot of paperwork and a lot of phone calls and letters. So, but I'm working on it.
And how long have you been working on the plaza?
let's see, 2018 is when I acquired it. And that was kind of a fluke. It kind of fell in my lap. And so
So it really hasn't been all that, I mean, it seems
No,
like a long time
no.
for you probably.
oh yeah, and with that whole year and a half with everything shut down and all the companies and that, like I said, that one was destroyed and they're just getting back up. And Dunlop Electric, Kendall told me that the prices were just outrageous, and so he hates to give me bids or prices because he's already been approved as my contractor, but he hates to give me bids because the prices have increased so much. So I'm sure that 110,000 I gave you is not even a drop in the bucket when we get down to it. But it's a place to start.
Exactly.
You know, it seems like there's grant money out there for every project there is. If you visit with our economic director, Bobby Skipper, see if he can do some exploring and maybe come up with some other avenue of funding.
Not really. He approached me and told me I should gift the building to this group or the city. And I can't do that because I'm beholden to the Heritage Trust Fund. I signed a contract with them. And the state is informing me, obviously, of grants out there. So I just follow up with them.
Okay.
Awesome. I would have no problem myself. I mean, she's been putting herself out there, so.
And I truly appreciate your donations, your funding for the Arts Council. It has helped tremendously, and we appreciate that also. So,
But you have to have this letter by
Friday.
Okay.
I know, I said quick turnaround, I'm sorry.
Just one letter for the commission? Just
Yes.
one letter?
Yes, just as a commission, you can do that. Mhm.
The Heritage Trust Fund you're speaking of, is that Freedom Frontier or is that a different, or do you know?
That I don't know. I just know it's Heritage Trust Fund through the Historic Society.
All right.
And I'm proud to say that I was awarded the full amount, one of 10 people. And there were over 50 applicants, so that makes me happy.
I don't think they're one of the
I
same.
think they're different.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't heard that term, so.
I know you have a time frame, but I'd like to, personally, before I vote on this, I'd like to take time to look it over and digest it.
Oh, definitely. I would have had the forms and everything to you sooner, but like I said, my time frame has been pretty quick and trying to get it timely is hard.
When do you have to have it back in by?
Friday.
We need to make a decision.
so we'll discuss it further at roundtable, and
Okay.
we'll just go through, which I don't see why it wouldn't, we'll have Andrea contact you.
Okay.
That works?
Okay, that'd be fine. Did you get a form?
I didn't.
I'll make sure she gets mine.
Okay.
Why is it that you need the county to send a letter of support for your grant? You already have the grant. Why would you need the county involved in it?
She don't have this grant.
I don't have this grant.
You don't have
I have a different grant.
Why do you need the county involved?
That's one of the groups that they suggested, the county, the city. There were cities, nominating organizations can be cities, counties, nonprofit organizations, but since I'm president of ours, I saw that as a possible conflict of interest, so I would not do that. Designated Kansas Main Street cities or affiliates, we are not a Main Street city. Chambers of Commerce, economic development organizations, small business development centers, local community foundations.
Is the city on board with this?
I'm meeting with them Wednesday, and so far yes.
So if you get a letter of recommendation from the county and the city, that's just a double whammy in your favor, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Any other questions?
Thanks for
Is
your
that building, is it on the register with the Historical Society?
Yes, both Kansas and national.
I thought so.
It's gonna be a huge plus to get it up and running.
Oh, yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Appreciate your update. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ms. Scott,
Mhm.
is that the building that suffered some vandalism
Yes,
last summer?
it was a year ago, October 31st.
How much vandalism, how much did that cost? What was the estimate?
The insurance I have on it is liability only.
Okay.
And it broke the window, the half moon window, and damaged the door, and it's just gonna end up being rolled into all of this repair.
And I just happened to be walking by, going to lunch when law enforcement was looking at it, and I never heard anything, so it's likely over $1,000 worth of damage, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it was
definitely.
fairly significant.
Yeah, the door, it took out the door jamb and broke the window, and I'm sure there was damage inside, but it's not repaired in any way, so it was kind of hard to see. I did notice that the one curtain, stage curtain, had been torn down, but, you know.
So the vandalism that occurred on that occasion has not been corrected.
No,
It was made safe so that somebody could not go in there,
right, correct.
damage it further.
Correct. I had a friend that, he came and he put, immediately that day that I discovered it, which was the day after it happened, he came and put plywood up to protect that and the outside. And then I bought chains and locks to put on the doors to keep it more secure that way.
I just think it's important for everybody to also know there was vandalism that occurred, and I don't think it made the news waves.
I'm sure it didn't. I think there was just a little more.
There's probably a suspect that hasn't been apprehended, and there may never be.
At that time, there were a lot of small vandalisms going on around town, so.
If we do this nomination letter, it in no way requires anything else, right?
Correct.
So basically, everything this handout she gave us, she read us almost word for word, so.
Mhm.
As far as reading this and digesting it, she informed us of everything that comes in this, so. Almost word for word, just quick glance, so. We go around the table, think about it a little bit.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Christina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Good, good. Want to talk to the commissioners about some of the things that were identified in the audit, and one of those was the payroll. And the payroll system, there's two decisions to make. One I think is an easy decision to make. The other one, I'm not anticipating a decision today, but I wanted to get in front of the commissioners as soon as possible, because whenever you have a transition in payroll, it affects the employees. So we want to make the decision in regards to that transition, financially, what will be the best for both parties. So if you look, I think I gave you a memo or a letter, and then the attached, I'm a visual person, and I wanted Angie and Denise to help me in regards to showing you what we'd like to go to. So this particular calendar, just like you said earlier, our pay dates are not going to change. They are still going to be the last business day of the month. It's still going to be a monthly payroll. It's just that currently the way payroll is done, and I've never seen this before, ever. I can openly say that over 400 clients that I've had, I've never seen this before. And just to give you a perspective, even though I've been in HR for over 30 years, I did payroll for 2 companies with over 125 employees. And the key to this respective payroll is it is not actual time paid. They basically have a cutoff date and they're estimating or they're paying people in advance of what has been earned. So not only does that not give you an efficient payroll system, it also gives you headaches in regards to your leave balances as well too. So I know many of you, I see people shaking their heads, that's the easy part. We want to go to a system where we're paying people for actual time worked. The challenge is with the transition, okay? So if you look at this respective memorandum that I gave, there's different ways that you could do this. The one way, which is not the optimum way, is the individuals, meaning the employees, would not get paid for 6 weeks. I don't know a lot of people that would like that option. So then the other option is you basically are giving a supplemental payroll, to basically go through the transition and then get onto the new system. The problem with that, and I didn't list it in here, is the cost with that. They're basically getting double paid for a 9-day period, and that can be approximately $190,000 to the county. But I could sit here and we didn't do this, but I know that the county over time with this system, with the prepayment and the leave balances, and then issues with, payment with workers' compensation, this is going to be a one-time deal. And then we will be on this system and we will stay on this system. Now, the respective, recommendations had other things, going to a bi-weekly payroll. At this point in time, I said, I don't see the employees wanting that. I think they're used to the monthly payroll, and for budgeting purposes, they like that. But I do think no one's going to argue about actual time paid. It's just getting through the transition. So that's why I'm asking the commissioners, and if you can see this too, we chose a month that was the shortest month to make the transition. And that was a suggestion by Angie and Denise, and I feel like that's a good suggestion. So that's why I wanted to get it in front of you to start thinking this through, what direction you want to go, because whatever direction you want to go, I'm big on communication. It needs to be communicated effectively, to the leaders as well as to the staff, because we're dealing with people's pay.
If we're advancing 9 days, why can't we deduct 9 days from the following day? You're talking another $190,000 for handing employees.
Yeah.
Taxpayers are the ones paying those.
Correct.
What's the taxpayer going to get out of it?
So how are you saying to do it, Bob?
If we advance them 9 days on the one paycheck, why can't we deduct to 9 days from the following paycheck? If they're getting the same amount of money, it's just at a couple of different times.
And we talked about even advancing it and taking that out over time. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's basically
So
what
it
I'm
would not.
saying too.
So
I'm saying one time.
correct. I'm open to suggestions. It's just that I feel like this needs to happen, but you could do it a million different ways, in regards to the transition, and I don't have the answer.
I wouldn't be in favor of overtime, because
Yeah.
somebody quit, somebody, whatever, so long, they spend the money, they don't have it.
Yeah.
I would be, if you advance it, it's coming out the next pay, it's out in the open.
In and out.
And they know it, don't put it in, don't spend it type deal. I would be,
I just assumed that's the way it's gonna be handled if we went that way. Advance them 9 days up front, which would be straight time, no time and a half for that. And then the next pay period would be 21. They're still gonna get their 2 monthly checks, but one will be a little high and the other will be a little low.
But it's,
Except that first one's gonna put them in a higher tax bracket, technically. So they're gonna end up a little bit less there, but in the lower pay of 20 or 21 days, they'll be in a little lower tax bracket. So which way is the best system that Wage and Hour would accept if there's an issue?
There's no, as long as they're getting paid for their time,
So Wage and Hour would not be,
Correct,
Wage and Hour
correct.
would not be a player.
Department of Labor could care less how you compensate people, as long as they're compensated appropriately.
I agree with Jesse, if we pay them up front for 9 days, or next pay
Yeah.
period, ought to be 19 or 20, whatever it comes out to.
But here's what I will tell you about Department of Labor. Usually, I mean, you're out of pay period. Pay periods are usually weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or monthly. So you're already at the max, that the Department of Labor allows. So if we were to do that 6 weeks wait 6 weeks, we can't do that. They say that you have to pay people at least monthly. So that's why we have to figure out something creative for the transition process that will keep them whole, but not to put the, county in jeopardy in any way.
would there be any other way to simplify it going bi-monthly?
That,
That would simplify the issue at hand.
if, right now, what I just want to get to is an actual time paid and stay with the monthly. A year from now or 2 years from now, if the majority of the staff want to go to a bi-weekly or semi-monthly, I'm open to it. But it's just like with anything, anytime you change a payroll system, it's a big deal one time. It's the transition period. And just to give you perspective, one of the places that I worked that I changed the payroll, I changed it from a monthly to a bi-weekly, same thing. The transition was kind of ugly. But I will say, one thing that I learned, a lot of people like the monthly payroll. The majority, I would say they're all okay with it now, but it was hard. I think many of us in this room, when it comes to our respective payroll, we have everything coming out automatically. We know our respective budget. So I don't want to tackle, that bear right now and make that transition with your respective staff because they're not screaming that they want it.
Okay, well, I'll just say this for all the employees that are sitting out there watching this and listening to this now instead of working. I am not going to give you 9 days of pay.
I just need to get some feedback from you on how you would like to do the transition.
But I have no problem of giving the 9 and taking it away from and I don't care if we give them 10 and take it away, whatever it be from the following pay scale.
Okay.
Because I realize, yes, some people, the way things are going, that could create a bind, but if we're giving them a little extra, they can put it back. Say, a little bit of, they have to work with this a little bit too.
I agree.
We're not short paying them any at all.
Absolutely.
There's no short pay at all. They're getting rewarded for the hours that they work. Other than it's gonna come in 2 different pay periods. A little bit extra the first time, a little bit short the second time.
Absolutely. And the reason I came to the commissioners now is because I want to get your feedback so we can start crunching the numbers and seeing what that looks like. So we can come back and go, okay, here's option A, option B, option C. But I hear what Bob is saying.
I'm tired on it.
That's okay. I agree. Like I said, we want to make this right by the employees, but we don't want to do anything against the county.
Well, I think doing it this way is gonna cut a lot of headache.
A lot of headache.
Of payroll. Estimating the rest of the week is gonna be, I'm gonna work this, and this, and then they don't, and then it's just a nightmare trying to make it back
Correct.
up for the payroll.
Administratively, it's a nightmare.
Would there be such a thing as one short pay check?
We could do it multiple ways. And now that I'm, hearing the commissioners out, we need to go back to the drawing board and kind of come up with some different options.
But in your opinion, just go ahead and do the 9 days is the simplest.
It's the simplest,
Okay.
But-
Simple is.
but yeah, we like simple. We're trying to cut back on.
That's simple or everybody else said simpler on
Yeah.
mine.
But we're trying also administratively this is gonna be, no matter what we do, it's gonna be confusing to the staff. So that's why we're trying to make it as least confusing to the staff, So they know it's a temporary thing. This is going in, this is coming out, this is when it will be done, and this is when we're gonna be on the new system. So I just want to introduce the concept, to the commissioners. Let me come back to you with some different option with the numbers.
Well, in my opinion, we hired a
Mhm.
good firm to do the job for us. If you're telling us this is the simplest and easiest way to accomplish it and less interactive on the payroll department's part, then
Yeah.
that's why I say we do.
Okay.
I do my opinion.
Okay. I've been working in partnership with your respective payroll department. At the end of the day, they have to live with it and be able to administer it.
And if they think that that's the easiest, then
Mhm.
I'm not gonna micromanage that either, so,
Okay. Okay.
in my opinion. I don't know what the rest
Let
of you
people
think.
do what they're supposed to do.
Mhm. Well, what will be nice is this will help them out and the staff out in the long run. They'll get better numbers, in regards to their, leave balances, et cetera. And
Well, think about it, we're talking about it now happening in February and March of next year.
yes,
People can make plans to get
Yes.
through that time.
correct. And that's why we're coming to you now. So, and whatever we decide, they can have months ahead of time in order to plan. I agree. Okay, I'll come back with some more numbers.
All
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to add to that, Angie?
No, we have talked quite a bit, Christina and I and Denise, and, we know over the years, it's just not been the best system, but that's how it's kind of always been. And so I think it will clean things up quite a bit to have everything as, work as paid, so paid as work.
And so your office is on board with the 9-day thing. You think that's the simplest for you,
Well,
correct?
to be a short month, if we do like Bob and Jesse said, if we end up taking it off, we're gonna go back, like Christina said, and crunch the numbers and see how that'll work, communicate that to employees, and, I think we can make something happen, so.
Where it's easy for your office,
Yeah.
something like that, okay?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
And we want it to be,
Easy.
we want it to
Don't
be
be-
easy for the employees too, so we don't want to make it difficult on them. So,
I don't see a problem with it, so. Any other discussion on this? No? So we can't do the canvassing till 10, correct?
Right.
That'd be on a time frame. So somebody don't have something, I guess we can take a short break. Do the canvassing. Unless Wade's got something he wants to share with us prior to.
Probably wait.
Okay.
Gee, thanks.
I do want to talk on this Pam Scott deal. She's kind of put herself out there. I mean, and she's applying for these grants. And I don't.
I just want to
Like I
make
said,
sure,
she read this, basically while she's up there speaking, everything that she said was in this, so.
I just want to make sure it doesn't tie Coffee County to anything. Kind of like the National Heritage,
Freedom
Freedom Frontier deal.
Exactly.
It helps me with the Historical Society being the one that's doing it.
Basically, yeah.
And that's what I see and checked. So
There was something that locked Coffee County into that
Freedom Frontier.
Freedom's Frontier deal. I don't know where it come from, but whatever grant money that somebody received locked Coffee County in that Freedom's Frontier deal. And we have not been able to pinpoint, I've got my ideas, but I haven't actually found the actual crumb that locked Coffee County into that. So grant money's tied to something most of the time, and so this just happened to be something that happened quite a while back.
And from what I interpreted, it is from the state.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with it.
I'm good with it as long as it doesn't tie the hands of Coffee
As long
County.
as it doesn't tie us to anything.
It'll give her the opportunity to make that corner of the intersection look better, opportunity to bring some more people into town. So I definitely don't have any problem with it at all.
I remember all the shows they used to do here 15, 20 years ago, and it was quite interesting to go to it.
Yeah,
It was.
you had to walk 3 blocks to get to it.
Yeah, yeah.
My kids remember quite well the country singers that came down the city.
Yep. Several of them moved on.
I remember when it was a movie theater.
I'm not sure why. Remember. Well, we
Mr.
need,
Johnson,
well, we need to move ahead on that. Tom, you want to take care of it now?
as long as them two have done the research that they think they need to do,
I'm comfortable seeing what I've seen.
I'm comfortable seeing what they see.
I'm okay as long as it doesn't tie us to anything.
And these two have evidently Googled something already and
I do.
Bird dog over here.
making sure we're not tied to anything as far as national heritage, so.
Or it doesn't commit us to anything.
Is that officially maybe put in motion
Do we need
for
to,
documentation?
do we need to make a motion on that?
That's a question I don't have, for sure. Or an answer I don't have.
So I guess I'll move to,
I think it'd be good to document it as a motion.
have it, we'll just have Andrea type us up something. Have Andrea's type up a letter of support for Pam Scott.
And is everything she said that needs to be in the letter is in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Nominate her for the grant. Historic Economic Asset Lifeline, HEAL grant is what it is. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Tim seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's a 5-0. Tom Johnson, Mr.
Appreciate that. Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Morning.
Tom.
So a week ago, Lynn County Sheriff's Office called and woke me up, and believe me, he'll get that in return one of these days. Lightning had hit their 911 communication center and their dispatch center. Lightning took out one of their consoles and their entire 911 system. Luckily, we had just replaced all of ours with the new state system, and we had a room full of old outdated equipment. And he said, I need 2 pieces of equipment. He told me those pieces of equipment, and I said, I'll do some checking. I called Don Moody, our 911 coordinator, and she said, I know exactly where it's at. Yes, we have it. It's of no value to us. So I drove to Burlington, which I'll pay the sheriff back for that too, and picked those 2 items up. There's a computer console, a CPU, and a SAMS unit, which runs their 911 system. I picked those up and took those over and met the sheriff in Garnett. And in fact, I spoke to them again this morning. They are up and running again, just like before, with no questions asked whatsoever because of our equipment that is old and outdated. I am here to ask you what you want me to do now. Do you want me to bill them? Do you want me to work it out in inmate housing over the next, few years? Do you want me to give it to him on permanent loan?
I'm assuming he's just borrowing until he gets his new stuff.
Sir, there is no new parts.
Okay.
This system was like ours, so outdated and
Again, he's
antiquated.
gonna get new, not replaced parts, but new replaced equipment, if you will. Just like it looks like you loaned him.
Again, sir, I would think so, just like we got new stuff. But again, I don't know what their budget is, what their time frame is for replacement. They were just like us when it came to our old radio system. We were robbing Peter to pay Paul with people all over the state. When they took their old systems down, Cominco, TFM-Com would go get those things and house them for us because there was nobody making parts anymore. Well, that's where Lynn County's at now with that system.
it's of no value to us.
I think you did a good thing giving it to them, and I have no problem giving them more if they need it.
Again, we've got a room, we kept our stuff, thank goodness for them. We kept that stuff. We didn't know what to do with it.
Could you see a time where we might need it ourselves?
So that system is apples to oranges for what we have now. There's no way any of that equipment can work on what we have now.
Okay.
I felt IT, like had IT all over me. I kind of, it's yucky, but anyway.
I'm gonna recuse myself from this.
Well, I say handle it the best way you think is possible. I mean, if you want to do some trading out on inmate housing, and sounds like you guys work hand in hand anyway.
Believe me, Sheriff Friend is a great guy, and we work good together. And again, I'm sure we'll continue to work good together. It's all gonna even out in the end, if you ask me.
I let it do just that.
So I documented, I have all the serial numbers, I took pictures of all the stuff. We'll document it downstairs, that we give it to them on loan. And we'll leave it at that for the time being. When the time comes, I'll play my trump card and try to get something back from them when they, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. I mean, anyway, it's fine.
In fact, I actually have a thought, if it's zero value to us, if we can help another department out, in turn, we may want something later.
And that's the same way the
And
Kevin and
I
I
just don't
talked
put any
about.
value on it.
Yeah, it's of zero value. It's, we got it in a room, and it's stacked up in a room for no value, it's of no value to us. Okay? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Eric, you got something?
I do not, thank you.
Hey, Eric.
Eric, they want you. Can't get away that quick.
They don't want you. I got something to offend you here about. We're gonna go take a 10-minute break, come back with canvassing.
Okay.
Were you guys in session? Did you guys get in session yet?
No, it'll be the 22nd,
22nd.
next Monday. Enjoy Thanksgiving, probably. So. Yes, yes, this weekend, absolutely.
I say go on, Denise.
Okay.
Sounds like that 9-day deal, probably the most, be the best way to work.
Well, even if you paid the people and didn't take it back from them, in the long run, you're saving money, because the whole time I've been here, I've been trying to get somebody to switch that. You're paying workers' comp on a minimum. This last month, it was 400 hours that we had paid for, and then people took time off for one reason or another. That's in 1 month, and usually it's more like 700.
See,
So over the time, you've wasted way more than
See,
that.
I questioned that 2 or 3 years ago when I first came on board.
I
not
questioned
too
it the
sure
first
that
month I
would
was here
I
7
like a
years
2-week,
ago.
I'd like a 2-week pay period myself. But
I
I know a lot of people like the monthly stuff since they're used to it, so,
don't think we have the staff for that.
I'm sorry.
I don't think we have the staff for that.
Yeah, you're right there. 2-week deal, take another person for 150 employees.
And then you're gonna have to,
Yeah, they turn in 2 weeks early and then get their check 2 weeks. And here, they're gonna turn in 2 weeks. Everything will be documented, wage and hour, won't have any questions, and it'll be a huge plus. Have a 40-day pay period, then a 20-day pay period, it all comes out in the wash.
yeah, if they save their money right, you got.
Well, that ain't a problem. That's their problem. If people can't do that, then they've got more problems than that.
We'll see.
As long as they explain to them up front, they won't be an issue. Yep, just get the hand on the back of the ball. What we doing, boss?
You only need just one table.
Mr. Reed, how are you?
I'm getting along good. There ain't no message. How you doing, Steve?
Good.
Mark Peterson, the newspaper man, said he'd never met you. He comes back from later. How you doing?
Good. You may not want me.
Man, no reason for that.
I'm teasing.
Everything going well?
I can't complain.
Nobody listens to you anyway, huh?
Right, half people got it worse, the other half don't care.
Congratulations. Are you on vacation?
No, there's 2 votes to go, I'm only gonna leave by 2.
2 votes. This is side.
Yep.
What's it like to handwritten?
I am not exactly sure, but it's 52 to 50 right now. There's 2 provisionals, I believe. Somebody got married, didn't get their name changed on the board or something like that.
And I don't know what the real deal is.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out here shortly.
Yeah, that's one. That's what our attorney's
Yeah. But I came down a much closer race than I thought.
I heard there was 5 or 6, so it's split. I hadn't heard a thing last week.
Right.
And that was strict.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of, that's one, right. Kind of, everybody tells you something, kind of take it with a grain of salt until you really figure out what's really going on.
Yeah. We'll load some more here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
There's a trip to DC.
It was amazing. It was really
It's quite an honor to get to do that, isn't it?
It was.
The honor flight got back there, they went back there Thursday morning and got back Friday night. Probably all the honor flights have been fantastic. But because of younger veterans now,
Right.
in most cases, nobody in a wheelchair. There's one man with a cane fighter. But Jeff said because of the weather, he said it's probably the best trip they've ever had.
The weather was perfect. We could be out all day walking around, see everything you want. It wasn't hot, cold, windy, and it was perfect.
Were you the only one from Coffee County that went?
The 2 younger girls who have
I'm sorry?
then there were 2 younger girls with me. They had both just recently either joined the military or signed to join.
Okay.
So that was their first trip out there.
Our class in Coffee County this year's only got 11 seniors in it.
Oh, wow.
And next year's, we're getting in pretty short classes, 10, 12, 13.
Oh,
4 of them signed up for military.
really? Oh, wow.
2 of them's already had their Army boot camp last summer. And the 2 that just signed up here a month ago are going in, a woman and a man going in, or kind of guy, going in the one.
So they've already done their.
2 of them done the boot camp.
Oh, wow.
Cody, 2 Codys, Cody Bright and Cody Hessa. They signed up, they went to boot camp last summer.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was an option.
I didn't either. But then, the Veterans Day program we had last Tuesday at the gym is a fantastic. The 4 out of 11 is going to melt.
That's amazing.
We normally always have 1, maybe 2.
Did anybody get that on video?
I'm sure it's all on video. That program lasted an hour and a half. And sat there almost 40 minutes. It was quick.
It is 10 o'clock.
Need
a motion to convene as Board of Canvassers, canvass the results of the November 2nd, 2021 city school general election. So moved. Bob moved,
Second.
John seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
So I've handed out a totals report for you of unofficial results. You have that in front of you. I also handed out a provisional ballot to be counted sheet. And so if you'll take a look at that.
I don't have
That's it. What is it?
the first one you filled out.
Yeah,
Unless there's a different order, I don't either.
Oh, somebody did. I probably did that. I did it.
Okay, so, looking at the provisional, we want to go ahead and get these going so we can read them in and have a board coming to, handle these. In Levo City, we had a voter fail to present valid photo ID. We did contact them, before the canvass, and as you can see, there's documentation. Brad called, on November 3rd and November 8th, and the voter has not presented valid photo identification, so we recommend that that one not be counted, and
They
so.
vote without furnishing an ID.
No, and they have to vote provisionally.
So they're still allowed to vote.
They're allowed to cast a ballot that goes into an envelope and is sealed up separate from the other ballots. And then they have until we convened here a minute ago to bring that ID into our office and show that ID and prove that it's them.
I just assumed they couldn't vote at that time.
Well, basically, anybody can vote that shows up, but it's gonna go into a provisional if they don't show up on the poll pad.
And then we later
And then we'll
determine.
judge, you guys will judge on it at this setting here.
Okay.
We'll look at it and recommend, but you guys decide.
And then Leroy City, we had one where a voter changed a name, completed a new voter registration card. And that one is just a voter name change, so that one would count. Leroy, another one, voter moved within Coffee County.
They actually moved within Leroy.
Oh, within Leroy, okay.
I mean,
So,
the standard is within the county, but
yeah,
they moved within the city.
and so they completed their new voter registration card also. Waverly voter not on the poll pad, completed the new voter registration error. What we found is that when it was a clerical error, when we had entered that voter registration card originally, the last name was put in the first name spot and the first name in the last name, so it was just one of those things that can happen. Anyway, they were registered, we found, and they voted their correct precinct, so again, that one we recommend it should count. Waverly also voter moved within Coffee County, completed their new voter registration card, and so pretty simple this time. We have 5 provisionals in total. Our recommendation is you accept 4 and reject 1 if you also agree with our findings, so. There's a motion.
So
In
move
that.
upon the recommendation of copy for the county election officer to accept 4 provisional ballots, reject 1 provisional ballot, consistent with state statutes, and provisional vote totals will be added to appropriate races, to the appropriate races.
I'll move.
Jesse moved,
All second.
Tim seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion passes. 5-0.
Do we want to go over? Do we want to get into this?
Well, I don't know. Would you like for me to talk to them briefly about that before I go up and have those? What we had basically was 3 races that are within the realm of ending up in a tie. One of them is the Leroy mayor's race. And I've given you this summary sheet, or I guess maybe I didn't provided that for Wade ahead of time here too. There are 2 provisional ballots from Leroy. If they both went for the one that's behind by 2, then it would rise into a tie. We don't know if that's going to happen, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on that yet. But that's just a possibility that I come back down and say those both went for that person, then we have a tie. Mr. Cox has stated his objection informally that to a couple of the write-in votes that were counted, and we can discuss that if we need to. If the provisionals don't both go the other way, then it won't matter and it'll be over. Lebo Waverly School District, position number 6, Ryan Durston, Carolyn Williams is tied at 172. There are 2 ballots from that district that'll be counted upstairs here in a moment. Might break the tie and make this not matter anymore. If it's still tied, we'll have to be back for tie breaking. And then district number 3, 245 school district had 3 positions open, 2 people filed for it, and they both won. Write-ins in the 3rd place tie. The first one, they both have 3 votes. One of them lives in the district, the member district. The Gridley side, for this position, you have to live in the Gridley side, which then kind of syncs up to Hallisville. The other one lives in the city of Leroy in District 1 and isn't eligible to hold the office. And that's something that, unless we have a provisional up here, you have to consult with your counselor. And our guidelines say that we're supposed to ignore the fact that one of them isn't eligible to hold the office. And let the school board deal with it later. That's the question, that if it remains in the tie, it very well might. You have to decide whether to break that tie or find that one of them isn't going to be eligible. I've talked to both of them and they're aware of it. I don't think either one of them intend to seek serving on there. Nathan's on there already and didn't file because he wants to stop. And Rita I talked to, and she understands that she's in the Leroy district and didn't understand why she was written in to start with. So that's just something when we get the numbers from the provisionals, those are kind of the 3 things that have possible issues that we'd have to resolve by tie breaking and such. And I'll get out of here again.
Okay, maybe you want to read those. And then at this point, do you want to continue on just reviewing the poll books and the numbers, or do you want to recess and take care of some other business while I go get the totals added in and then we can finish up all of it at the end, or how would you like to go on?
How much time do you need?
Well, it's pretty quick on just looking at the poll books on this part and the audit. We had to do 2 audits, randomly selected polling places, and randomly selected races. And so we did do those, and we have those for you to review and just sign off if you've seen those.
So you don't feel rushed, why don't we just recess and then
Yeah, I'm not rushed.
do your thing?
Okay, we can finish up after, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Move to recess as a board of canvassers at 10:07, and reconvene as the board of county commissioners while the county elections officer adds provision ballots to election totals.
I'll make the motion.
Tim's moved. Stone seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Yep.
and we'll be back shortly.
Takes time, sounds like.
Can we leave this table here?
Yeah, sure, you'll be fine. So Bobby, did you have something?
No, sir.
Yes. Okay. I guess we don't have anything else right now. So here a while back, I don't know if all of you got the email, but Goldberg requested some additional funds because we bouncing from this spot to that spot, to that spot, to this spot, to that spot. So he's been doing some extra legwork, so to speak. I apologize, I don't have the exact number in front of me. It was, did you get that email?
I did not.
Okay. It was like $7,800. We need to put that into a motion. I better print that off, come think about that. And I guess make a motion to approve, basically it'd be a change order. I'll just bring it to your attention. So you can ponder it, see if you got an issue with it, but I don't know if y'all pretty much agree. We bounced it from here to there, to here to there, to here to there, so.
Ways occur and added time that was not calculated
Correct.
before.
How much further will this get us down the road if we continue to keep bouncing?
Quite a way.
Which he probably can't couldn't answer for sure, probably.
I would like to see the invoice before we vote on
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I should have
it.
printed.
We did bounce him around, so.
Yeah.
I think we need to
It
look.
wasn't really an invoice, it was he sent me an email and I forgot to print that off this morning, I apologize. So I could have that exact dollar from it, but it was like 7,800. So I will make sure they should be talking about it. The waterproofing on the basement wall, Andrea's got a hold of one other one that's agreed to come on December.
First, Thrasher. With them.
From Basher out to Peter, Kansas City.
They'll come, they're the only other ones that I've been able to get a hold of.
They
but-
do a huge amount of advertising on television, how evidently a pretty legit company.
I think it's a needed necessity. Not just here, but I mean, in our basement settings. So that would be the only one that's returned to us, correct?
Correct.
So we may just be stuck with just the 2 quotes, just for FYI. The next would be, I'm just covering a few things. I was gonna do a round table anyway, while Andy's doing what she needs to do. I'm waiting on Wade now. The last week, Cook Platt and Strobel presented their capital improvement plan. Anybody get a chance to do that? My opinion, I guess if we don't go to phase 2, I'm just gonna get shelved. It seems like they could be, so to speak, the spearhead of this endeavor that we hope we can do with the cities as well as the county projects and this, that, and the other. I know Bob's interest is getting a walking trail from Burlington to New Strong. That's involved in this too, so like I say, if we don't enter in a contract with them, it'll just be put on the shelf and probably never go anywhere.
We spend a lot of money just to stop it.
Yes, I agree. You know, go on up. The only other thing I would say is, and this be sort of an addition to, that maybe I'm speaking at the wrong time, but you know, Wayne will be retiring next year. We do got to decide whether we're gonna hire another engineer, or whether we're just gonna hire an engineer as needed. You know, you're almost there in my opinion, so go ahead, Bob.
Yes, sir. In regards to the community improvement plan that the Cook Platt and Strobel is working through, one thing that they are working towards is ultimately having not just projects identified, which they've already done, but having some projects to move forward with. And like you mentioned, there are a few relevant projects that could be moving forward in discussion with Cook Platt and Strobel. There's a lot of overlap with things we're already doing that are also included in that plan. I would ask the commission to work with Cook Platt and Strobel in the second phase approval to urge them to actually give you an implementation plan in that second phase of moving forward with some kind of timeline, as opposed to just saying, we're going into a second phase and it being 18 months before you have any forward movement on any project.
Right.
I think that would be prudent.
Well, I do know with a lot of this, I mean, they're talking about writing grants too, as well, to get some of these things accomplished, and that, you know, as well as I do, how long some of that stuff kind of takes. I mean,
Absolutely.
so,
There's the reason behind asking them to implement a plan of implementation with a timeline, as opposed to just a broad, we'll keep working on it.
okay.
I agree.
I agree.
I think when we went into it, we probably expected it to be a phase 2, probably can't rule out phase 3. So, you know, the value that's coming out of that, I've looked at it pretty close. I mean, for some reason I left it home, didn't bring it. Looked at that book very closely, and there's a huge amount of information in there.
Yeah.
for us to move ahead on and improve Coffee County.
There's
Kind of
also,
look toward the future somewhat, the way I see it. I mean,
there's also a third aspect to this, which I'm sure everybody would understand. In the realm of they being engineers, they deal with certain types of grants mostly that they're familiar with. KDOT, Commerce, USDA, those are the, some of the staple funding paths through which federal dollars and state dollars flow down to county level, city level, which is what they're basing a lot of their projects on. But there is a greater discussion that I would also ask the commission to entertain introducing at some point, is just to have a discussion on what grants are out there right now, what's available. You've got all these different monies flowing at you now. You just had somebody this morning come to you about a new grant that just hit, called the HEAL grant.
that was for her own personal use, not for county or city.
Well, that grant is available for the county and cities as well.
Okay.
We could apply, and it's a competitive grant, so it's not just exclusive to one person. We could have 4 or 5 different HEAL grants going at the same time. And she was correct. It has to be sponsored through a letter of support from a local government or some other entity, quasi-governmental entity. But there is I would like to have a discussion on what grants are available, what we could do in concert with things that are moving forward, whether it's a walking trail or whether it's a creative way to develop a property, build a building. I spoke with you about the rural housing improvement district, and I had to use paperwork on it. And that's something that, for instance, is brand new. It's Senate Bill 90 just passed through the legislature, through the Senate, state Senate. It allows now for incremental increases in property tax that finance vertical improvements. And it is something the county and city would uniquely have to adopt, have in place. It's a program that other communities are using to great effect. That's something new because tax dollars, wherever they generated from, historically, have not been able to be used for vertical construction. Now they are. The Senate said, yes, you can't do that. The Senate and legislature said, yes, you can use those increases in tax value to finance vertical construction. For communities like us, that's huge. A property that costs too much to redevelop, for instance, that's outside of being fiscally viable, this would be a mechanism to allow you to do that. Such as an old theater, an old, we have a lot of buildings around here that, in all of our towns, that are too old and not fiscally viable for an individual to go in and buy and improve. This is a creative way, for instance, that we could leverage some grant funds, some different things to make these things happen. They all require governmental action. And that's the discussion I like to have technically, to look through all the different grants. And we can bring various people in with different, in different capacities, like the engineers, stuff they're familiar with. I can bring some people from the state, from the Department of Commerce and USDA, and have a great discussion so we know what we're dealing with.
Sounds good to me.
More information we can get, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Sir, did you have something you want to share?
No, I'm with Goldberg, and if you got any questions about what we're doing with the jail or anything, here to help.
Oh, is Larry here today?
I think he was going to be here, but he's not, so that's kind of where we're at.
All right.
I do have a plan on the computer, if you want to talk about it or anything.
I don't think so at this time.
Okay.
I knew he was maybe coming today for just a general discussion, but that's about all.
Okay, well, we're calling him, and if there's anything I can do to help, I'm happy to contribute.
Okay, all right. So anyway, back to the Cook Flat Strobel. to ponder it one more week? Do you want to make a motion to proceed? Do you want to? Sound like Bobby's well aware of several grants too that he could be working on in conjunction with what they're doing with KDOT. This, that, and the other.
I mean, like I said last week, I think we need to continue it, spend a lot of money to get it where it's at, to let it die, you know. I think that's pretty much the general consensus of the commission, but I guess we need a motion to carry on to phase 2. I mean, I think it would be beneficial for each city.
Well, why don't we do this? He's basically got a contract that came in our book that needs a signature, so I guess I'd want Wade's approval before we go, you know, if that's all right. So I'll make sure Wade reads this and we'll at least vote on it next week. The landing. Makes sense.
If we're doing just a little bit of roundtable now, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, we're just kind of waiting on Angie.
I would like to throw something out. You know, we met with, Arvonia Township and Ryan last Monday. About that 2-mile stretch east of Hope Road, the North County line, Osage, Coffee County line road. I got to thinking, starting from the west, county line and Osage, Coffee County line in the corner. Coffee County's got the first, I'm gonna say 2 miles, and there's one house on that 2-mile stretch. Possibly, yeah, 2-mile stretch. Then I believe it's 3 miles. I think that's 2 miles, isn't it? There's a blind road that goes north, that would be the mile line. I think that's 2 miles. Regardless, I think Coffee County runs that. Okay, so Coffee County runs the 3 miles there with one house.
From Angus to Contour.
Yep. Then Osage County has 1 mile.
Contour to Dobbin.
And my thinking was just I don't know what, so that would be E, that would be Emmer. Osage County takes the mile from D to E. And there's a house on the south side of the county line, which would be Coffee County resident. And it was kind of my understanding if there's more houses on one side of the county line versus the other, the one that has the most houses maintains that road, which from
Are these different townships in Osage, so?
I don't think so. I don't think they are. So D to E, because there is one house on the south side of the road, that's Osage County and not Coffee County. Then it goes E to F, that's Coffee County again. And there's absolutely no houses on that side of the road. And there's an old house on the north side that's been abandoned. So in the grand thinking of things, why couldn't we swap? Because we're going to spend $30-some thousand going east of Fauna on the county line for 2 miles. Why we're going to invest that money, and if Arvonia Township doesn't have the means to even upkeep it, why throw the $30,000 down the drain? Why not Coffee County take that 2-mile section or that stretch of road that we're investing $36,000 in and take it back to Coffee County and maybe give Osage County 2 miles west? You see what I mean? Swap some.
Since they're down there, why don't we swap them 4? If we swap them 4 for 2, knowing that those 2 take a lot of work, because they already got 1 mile in those.
Right, right,
And then when they go to, basically all they're doing is blading roads.
right.
When they go, they don't have to.
I mean, Coffee County's already did some extensive work there once before, and we're back again. And so I just think it would be, instead of just throwing money down the pipeline, if we would take that stretch of road. And then this would have to work with Avonia Township, this is just me spitting.
Right.
And give them 2 or 3 miles of something else along the county line, just swap them. I mean, it's just food for thought, and I want you guys to think on it and ponder it.
I don't know how they got separated 1 mile, then
Right.
next mile's us, and then 2 miles them.
Right, and then that's why, I mean, I visited with Ryan just a little bit about it, I don't remember what day it was, Wednesday, Thursday. And he said that's kind of how it was supposed to, kind of how the county lines went. If there's more houses on one side, then they take that and so on and so forth. But it really doesn't show that on the map. So.
You got the same thing over on the northeast corner.
Mhm.
And you got two, 1, 2, and 1.
Mhm.
It looks to me like as far as managing that road, if you group 3 or 4 miles together for the township or the county, it'd be more, be a plus.
Right, and the other one, and I've griped Lyon County from 50 highway north on Angus is atrocious for that mile. Is absolutely horrible. Lyon County does very minimal maintenance on that county line road. Washboards, potholes, hill gravel, I mean, it's just, it's ugly. But all of Coffee County roads look nice and.
Well, we are blessed in that.
We are blessed with our roads, but once again, Coffee County takes the north, in the 2nd mile, and is a great road, and the 1st mile is horrible. There's no ditches, there's no crown, flat road, I mean, it's just, all the water runs down the center of the road. I mean, but that's with Lyon County, so we gotta worry about Osage, for our Avonia Township, that's why I was thinking, and I think I visited with you a little bit about it. Food for thought, instead
Well,
of.
that's kind of your districts, I mean, I'd go with where you recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate throwing the money down the road and then not saying they won't take care of it, but not having the means to take care of it.
Right.
Is what
I mean, you could be spending money one way or another,
right.
so.
If we can spend it once and maintain it and swap them 2 miles somewhere else, that might be easier for them to maintain because we've already built the road up,
Again, that's your district, so I'd go with whatever your recommendation would be.
I just don't want to do, I just.
I mean, we've already agreed to help them out
Right.
financially anyway, so I mean, if you got a.
And I haven't visited with.
More reasonable idea, then I'm all for it.
I haven't visited with Rob that was here and Barr. I can call Rob and pitch this to him and see if he would be, I don't know why he wouldn't be game. He'd have to take it to his people.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be swapping something.
I there you go. I wouldn't have a problem.
I just think it'd be smarter for the county to do it that way than.
That's fine. Fine by me anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to visit with Ron about it, and I did, so.
All right.
You at round table?
Well, we're just kind of waiting for Angie to get her ballots things done, so we're just filling in gaps.
Probably need more time than just a gap though.
Okay. The only other thing we had was, I lost my little notepad, city council.
City council will have a date on Wednesday when they have their meeting. They'll confirm a date.
For us to all get together and just.
Work session.
Yeah.
Did they think that would be better before the end of December, before December 1? Or do they still kind of think it's gonna be after December 1?
Well, they have a tentative date they're looking at, but they said they want to make sure it was good with everybody, so they'll have that.
So no more coming Wednesday meeting, correct? Yeah. Make sure everybody,
What time frame are you looking at on that?
we're gonna wait for that decision.
I know the first and third Wednesday for me is tied up on other meetings.
It'll be on a Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
We do have one, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and if I understood the conversation right, it would be a work session, not a special session.
Correct. It'd just be a simple work session, yes, just.
And Wade, can you check the legalities on that? If all the commissioners and all the city council is present, could it be passed as a work session?
I think and it happens in other places.
You just can't make any decisions.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, being all the commission was there at once for the work session, which that's what it is that still?
So I know in other jurisdictions, because I've looked into it a little, I've talked to some other people about it, and on an annual basis, they meet, the county meets with the cities all across the county. They probably meet with their largest city, maybe on a more regular basis, because there's just more, maybe more involved that they meet with each of these cities within the county. And that might be something that the commission needs to consider doing on an annual basis, at least once a year.
Especially maybe moving in through this.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
it'd be beneficial, exactly.
Because that open communication and dialogue, I think is very important. And what I'm seeing happen, and maybe I'm wrong, is it's sort of like that can phone game where you start on one end and someone has the can, and then you say something on this end. By the time it gets all the way around, the message is misinterpreted or the wording is wrong, and I don't think that type of communication needs to keep occurring. So meeting in person, having whoever wants to be there to observe a work session between the county and whatever city it is, I think, a benefit to the county overall. So maybe starting in 2022, that occurs.
Like I say, we're still waiting for Angie to finish what she needs to do, so. Anybody got anything else they want to share? Kind of around?
I have one thing.
Okay.
From Wayne Blackburn. He says that the governor just announced that Coffee County received the cost share grant for the acceleration and deceleration lanes on Highway 75. No official numbers, but should be estimated $1 million.
Awesome. Cool. Good. I think their Dollar General, that'll be a substantial improvement, so very substantial.
You know, I bet there's not too many people notice that 75 highway through Coffee County is one of the only ones that does not have a full shoulder from north end to south end. They just don't realize it. Well, I know, but still, it's helping because of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize that.
Timmy, got anything?
Well, ECAN will be, the board meeting Tuesday night.
Okay.
And we'll be discussing the vaccine mandate for the employees at ECAN. And, I believe if you want to get the vaccine, but I'm not in favor of the mandate.
So Coffee County opted out of any mandates on that, and it's not, if I remember correctly, the Supreme Court's kind of blocked that for now, as far on the national level, so I can't see where they could make them, but out of my realm of knowledge, I guess, but my pay grade. Everyone heard?
And I've thought about that too, and, and I had a couple other deals dealing with that. And since Coffee County decided to opt out of it, I'm not opposed to not giving money to anyone who is in favor of it. I think if we continue to support the organizations that are in favor of it, I think we're double standards.
I understand that.
I think there's gonna be a lot of that coming down the pipeline.
I think it's time for people to start standing up.
I do too.
If you wanna get the shot, get the shot. But don't tell me I gotta get the shot.
That's right.
I don't like the mandate.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
And I've been telling people, if you're at an employer if you got an employer that's mandatory in shot vaccinations, don't quit. Make them fire you. Make them fire you.
Let them pull the shot.
Yep.
Well, I'm seeing that's why some of these companies are having a shortage of employees, because they're forcing them to do it, and they're having to quit, and then
Yeah, I know, I wouldn't
have a
quit.
short staff, so
And they have nothing, if they quit, they have no leg to stand on. It gets reversed.
it's too bad.
Yes, it is.
Then your next deal will take some time.
Yes,
Can we put the canvassing, I mean, I hate to put her off, so.
I think you should wait.
Okay.
That way it's clean that way.
That's fine. Don, you got anything?
The only thing I was gonna mention in the roundtable, and mentioned it last week, about the Veterans Honor Flight program at the school at SCC last week. The Black Hawk helicopter came in at 9:30, and then everybody went to the gym. And that program lasted an hour and a half. Seemed like about 30 or 40 minutes. Every student in the school from first grade up participated in that program at least once, some of them 2 or 3 different times. I don't know how many veterans was there, I don't know how many people was there totally, but you talk about a high quality program in a school with 130 or 40 kids is totally. I wish all of us could have been there and witnessed what SCC put together. And of course, the honor flight took place Thursday and Friday. Very successful, but just give an update to the SCC done a fantastic job of recognizing the veterans. And there was a lot of veterans there.
I'll just throw this out. Burlington Elementary had a veterans program, and it was fantastic too.
Good deal.
It's good. The more of that we see, the better.
Yes,
It's
it
just,
is.
our veterans need to be recognized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. And
We don't know
Henry,
them all, but we owe them. We don't know them all, but we owe them.
We don't put a full value on what we owe.
and Henry had a good trip out to Arlington.
We did, well, actually, and I don't know as far as the Rotary Club itself, but at the upcoming meeting this Thursday, the Rotary Club will be showing some of the pictures, and Bobby's putting together all the pictures and video that we took to show at the Rotary Club. And like I said, I don't know how many people could come, but if anybody's might be interested to come see some of the video of the ceremony where you could place a flower at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, we have that on video and pictures.
Awesome. And you also went to a couple of locals
We
that
did.
are there? That's cool. Very nice. Anybody got anything else they want to share that wouldn't take too long? No, I'm gonna wait. Last week, Cook Platt and Strobel came in and talked about the capital improvement plan throughout the city, we've been working on, and presented some numbers to enter into contract. We're deeming it phase 2, so to speak. I didn't know if it's something you want to look over before we actually made a motion to approve proceeding. I mean, it's not even really a contract per se, but I do want to get up. Oh, Angie's back.
Whenever I come back.
No, we're just killing time till you're ready. Till you're
Brad's
ready.
coming, he's bringing a couple sheets, so we are gonna have a drawing between 2 candidates.
Okay.
2 races, or just 2 races?
2 races, and, well, one's 2 candidates, one's 3 candidates. But I can have you sign full books if you want, while we're waiting on Brad.
And just looking at this one on the city of Leroy.
Yeah.
Write-in candidate, it's over for the write-in candidate, Terry. The election day,
That one doesn't count.
that
Carrie
doesn't.
count.
Indeed, you need to reconvene.
Oh, yeah, you'll need to reconvene, sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
but I
you're
was
right.
reading this
Hello.
one. So need to make a motion to reconvene as Board of Canvassers to canvass the results of the November 2nd, 2021 City School General Election at 10:40.
So
I'll make the motion.
Dennis moved, Don seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 5-0.
Yeah, I was looking at that other, more details in it, so that there was not.
So what I'm trying to do is, these are all of the poll books that people that checked in on election day for each community. You can just review that and like Leroy County, you can see. Just shows one, two more, we had one walk away and a paper, so it wouldn't show up up here, it would be up in the advanced paper.
Okay.
So that's what the difference on that one, but the others are all.
So these are all just signed?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I think that's gonna be used.
These are all to be passed around too?
There is one set, so for each
Oh, I see.
polling
Okay,
place.
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
And those results are right here if anybody wants to look at them, the detailed results. So.
Don't we have to sign those?
Yeah,
But we need to move to certify results.
no, not yet, not yet. We've still got a tie and
Okay.
all that to break, so I just thought we'd do something to pass the time while we remember.
Okay, so we can go ahead and sign these.
Mhm.
Okay. I apologize.
On this one back in Leroy City that was accepted, a voter moved within Coffee County.
The city,
They moved into the city,
they moved within the city,
within the city,
Yeah.
which would definitely be
right.
approved.
Anywhere on this last page, I assume is.
Correct. Up on
sufficient.
those lines,
Yeah.
this Board of Cancer, yeah. And these are the audits we did. On the back page of this one.
Yeah.
You can see this was for Lakeview Drainage, so there was
Okay.
one vote for each of the candidates.
Oh, I see,
If you
okay.
look in here, you'll see them.
Okay.
I'm gonna put in here for 1, 2, 3. And we have to do
Big
2
turnout.
votes because it's double check.
Big turnout.
We'll sign these or initially.
Either, just something that shows that you have. completed them.
Anywhere on this page.
Yeah, that page should be there.
Right. I'd hate to make that problem.
You can either sign on the front there, or you can sign on the back page. And this, here's your numbers.
Well, I know it's commissioner, so a lot of it shows.
My fingers are so dry, I can't.
I know, mine are too.
42. 42.
Okay.
And 7, those 4 and 3.
Put a sticky note on it.
Sure.
Last page, right?
That's duplicate book of that.
Sign it as well, though.
Here's some, if you want to see the numbers, 3, 42, and 7. And 3, 7, and that book's just the names of all the these stuff.
And we're still waiting on.
Brad's coming up.
Okay.
Duplicate pages here.
Okay. There's a second question with that. Is it one place to sign?
And then this book too. This is the duplicate book. Yeah. Do you want to see the picture? So 3.
We're elderly, do
Actually, I was there first, but she walked in.
And the official way,
I was-
you run 3 ties.
2 ties.
2 ties. The official way is just to draw out. For all positions, regardless of the position's office.
We did that the last time, if I remember.
We did it here once, I didn't know whether I qualified for that.
And the other one?
Which other one? That's just kind of where we are afterwards. You can give me
Yeah.
that.
They're signing the full
Are
book.
we ready to address that?
Pretty close, yeah.
That's a hurriedly prepared thing, showing what happened after we went upstairs. Opening the 4 provisional ballots that you approved. Had the result of, in the Leroy mayor race, it did become tied at 52 to 52 between Stephen Cox and Jerry T. Meyer. So, these your councilors, advice that we will probably need to proceed to that, break that tie shortly here. The Leroy, or the Lebo Waverly School Board position resulted in an increase for Caroline Williams of 1 vote and Terry Romig by 1 vote. So Carolyn Williams moved ahead by 1 vote in that district and would be the winner of that race. So it's not tied and nothing further would be needed other than just certifying the result. In the Leroy School District, Leroy Gridley, member District 2, counting the provisional ballots has added another person to our tie, rather than breaking the tie. Ed Jones picked up his 3rd vote. Ed also is a resident and registered voter in member District 1, and would not be eligible to hold the position if elected. So I don't know what you want to do about that.
If he's not eligible, we need to strike him.
What's Wade's theory on that?
Well, I don't know if you have to ask him that, but the guidelines
tell you to treat it like you live in Kansas City and you don't know who anybody is or where they live. But they're registered in member District 1 and we know where they live. And it looks like an active utility, but the school board's probably gonna be facing the vacancy no matter who wins this tiebreaker, because two of them can't serve and one of them won't serve, and the other has said he won't. So I don't think it's a matter of great import how you proceed, but.
So why don't we just strike it all and let the school board deal with it? Or can we?
Well, you
We
can ask
still-
Wade that.
No, we still have to make a decision though.
You have to decide who won one way or another.
Oh, I see, okay.
And I have the things here to do a tiebreaker if you want to do one.
Well, I guess.
And we can certify whoever came out in the school board. Probably have to.
Why do you even need to vote on one, two of them technically not eligible?
Well, that's between you and
Because
Wade.
they're outside the district.
Right.
It's village district this year.
What the Secretary of State's guidelines tell us to do is count the votes. But like I say, that's coming from a position from them of, as if we don't know anything. But we kind of do know everything we need to know. That's why I'm blinders. So that's what's got us where we're at today.
And I got, you guys have a sheet in front of you, on counting write-in votes that we highlighted the important points that you might want to look at.
But that one, we definitely do have a tie in the Leroy mayor vote, subject to your determination of write-in ballots on that one. And I noted on that report that Mr. Cox has informally stated that he objected to two of those. And I've told him that we recommend, based on these standards, that those ones that were counted count, that reasonable people can differ, and the decision lies with this commission as the board of canvassers and not with us. So
I'd like to make it formal now, if I can, and address if possible when I can.
Is that, and you are, I'm sorry?
Steve Cox.
Okay. Is that allowable?
You guys are the voting team.
well, I mean, I think if, I don't know, we would defer to your legal counsel. I mean, as far as anything formal, I mean, I'm just making you aware that he has told me that he objects to a few of those. Just for, if you want to consider that and look at those, and we can explain where we are, and you can ask your county counselor what his advice would be. But there were, in the Leroy mayor race, if we're going to go back and focus on that, there were, in your results, there were two, can I see your spot there? There were three write-in votes that were not initially assigned to Jerry T. Meyer, which I found out that it was T. Meyer, not Ty Meyer, by speaking to him the first time ever. And one of them is simply the last name T. Meyer. And in the materials Angie referred to with those standards, there's cases in other states around us, Kansas haven't addressed it directly, saying that if there is a person by that name clearly actively running as a write-in candidate, and there's not anyone else by that name running as a candidate, then you're supposed to determine the intention of the voter. And they say that someone walking into the poll in Leroy and writing T. Meyer on the ballot that day, you have to decide if they intended to write in Jerry T. Meyer or some other T. Meyer. And the case law says that that's close enough. The idea being like spelling and names and all, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close enough to where you can tell what they intend.
Was the first and the last name present?
Only the last name. on
Only
this
the
one.
last name?
They wrote in the last name, and that's what I'm saying. The case law says that is sufficient unless there's some reason for it not to be. Compare that to the one right above there, which was written in Terry, which isn't either of his names. It's close to Jerry, but it's
We did
not.
not count that one.
And that did not count because it clearly isn't enough to tell who they were voting for. The other one in question there is Gary T. Meyer. It's spelled a little wrong, and it's Gary rather than Jerry. And we looked at the circumstances of the election again,
we ran, there is not, we searched for a registered voter named Gary T. Meyer in Kansas, there's not one. The only T. Myers I'm aware of, if that, is the two that are registered, are Jerry and his wife.
That's what, the first one has got, the second's got T. Meyer. Is that adequate enough when his wife is Rhonda T. Meyer? How do they look at that?
But he was actively running as a write-in,
Okay.
and that's.
Well,
And that
we
does-
looked at the circumstances, the current serving president of the city council, and they're running, there are signs up and everything. There's no question he was actively running. It's different than like our school board. I don't think Ed Jones was running.
I don't think any of those three.
But if you look at the second page on that highlighted
Yeah.
part,
I noticed you got 6 different examples there.
and it says to determine whether to count a write-in vote containing only the surname, canvassers should consider the commonality of the surname within the election district and public knowledge as to whether the candidate is a known write-in candidate for that office.
Yeah, if you written in Stowe's or Meats or something where there's a bunch of them in town, then we thought it would be a closer question. There was only one T. Meyer, and it's an unusual name, and he was actively seeking it. And we thought that's close enough. I've told Mr. Cox, I see that reasonable people can differ on that, and you guys will have to decide
Okay,
whether
you guys
that's
have to
close enough.
decide, but
And the same thing with the Gary. There is no Gary. If there was a Gary, then I wouldn't think it would count. But there is no Gary that we can determine. And the similarity of the name, we thought that it showed, if you put yourself in the shoes of that voter in the booth, who were they trying to vote for? It's pretty clear they were trying to vote for Jerry T. Meyer and just didn't quite get there, and whether it's close enough or not is where you have to decide. It's possible that somebody writing Terry was, but that's not close enough.
Yeah.
The other two, well, the last name there's kind of pretty clear case law that's saying that that's probably okay under the circumstances, but
So you all struck the one that was Terry.
Right.
And counted
we counted the other two.
and the Gary.
But again, it's your decision, and putting those two in does create a tie in that race. So,
Well, I say it meets the definition by the state. They say, we've got another tie to break.
You're satisfied though, Brad, it meets the definition of the state?
that's what these are.
Well, they give us the standards, and the
You're
Kansas,
satisfied with that?
I am satisfied. That was
That's
our
the main-
decision, looking at them and arguing.
That's the main thing.
We were going through that process. We had a near tie up at Lebo where we had a write-in candidate named Jamie Jesnowski. And we had some adventures in spelling on that thing that we were arguing, and we never did agree on some of those. And I understand that you can get to a point where people that you studied it hard still don't agree. But these two, we thought, were within those guidelines the Secretary of State has gotten. And we recommend they be counted, but we understand we're not gonna take it personal if you would override that.
It does appear that it meets the guidelines.
Well, the real
It's
guideline,
been highlighted.
Commissioner Meeks, is that they want you to look at, can you tell what this voter was trying to do, who they were trying to vote for? And
The top of this form has got 119 totals and the bottom's got 118. What makes that do? You got advance paper on the top is 3, advance paper on the
Someone
bottom
didn't
is
vote
2.
for Leroy
I'm
City.
sorry.
Someone did not vote for Leroy City Mayor.
Okay. So that,
You're talking ballots and you're talking votes.
correct, be an undervote.
So it'd be an
so
undervote.
just one person did not vote for the mayor that qualified to vote.
And I'm sorry, I didn't include the undervotes on that. I could rerun that report if you'd like.
Well, that's what you said, we're on one vote.
Yeah, not everyone votes for every race. That's
I
just.
understand
yeah.
that.
Well, I don't know if you have any motion, but I true, what Brad's and Andy's decided is suiting for a, vote, I mean, I'm fine with it, they did their job, they, I'm sure they're following the statute, so, I'm satisfied.
Does Steve has to speak? Is he allowed to speak?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I'd look at waiting for that. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
that's why I went to my last.
I don't know why you couldn't hear from him. I mean, if those are accepted, it is obvious that what we're headed for a tiebreaker, but you can determine how you want to do that.
As far as I'm concerned, they're accepted because that's, that you guys did your job, due diligence and said it, so if you got something you want to add to that, that's fine.
To answer Don's question, I don't know of anything out there that would allow someone to speak to potentially influence what your role is at this point.
Okay, good enough. Enough said, so.
We gotta have a motion to approve those two. Is there?
That's I guess my next question, so I mean, I guess if it's gotta be a motion, I'll make a motion to accept. So would that be certifying the results of the county board, Angie?
No, not yet.
Okay,
So right now, we're
just gonna make a motion to accept those.
T. Meyer and Gary, or Ty Meyer and Gary T. Meyer as
Official votes,
write-in votes.
is that a motion?
Yeah.
So, I'll make the motion.
And let's say for the mayor of Leroy City.
We don't want to read that further, or are you satisfied with where we're headed?
We just say move to accept the write-in votes of T. Meyer and Gary I. Meyer for the mayor of Leroy City.
Tim's moved,
Second.
Jesse seconded. Any further discussion on this? Again, I would say it's, if Brad and Angie have went through the statutes, say it's legit, and it's legit. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
I guess we need to decide what I've done. I mean, the law, and you can ask Wade again on this, but as I understand it, says that to break a tie, that you do it by chance or lot. What we've done before is put the names all on strips. What I've done is just printed them 4 of each one, so they're not the same. I don't know if he wants to see those, or Stephen if he wants to see those. There are 4 slips that say Stephen Cox and 4 that say Jerry T. Meyer.
Okay.
And we can mix those up, put them in the box and shake them, and somebody can draw out the winner and see how it goes. I need a bigger box.
Too.
There's T. Meyer. Hold on, I just want to show you that there are 4.
Okay, we will certify there's 4 there.
Wait, hold on.
No.
There's 4.
There's 4 there, and there is 4 there.
Are you gonna draw?
Sure.
For Don,
Shake
you
them
wanna
up in
draw?
there good.
That's his district. And Don will draw his district.
Take photos.
We'll do that. We'll let him draw in his district, all that.
All 8 of them are in there.
Yeah.
Drum roll. I just got a hold of one.
Yep.
I think. Steve Cox.
Steve Cox.
Show that to the camera, or the camera. All right. So I think that should resolve the legal subject to, I mean, Mr. T. Meyer would have the right to request a recount in writing by submitting that to our office not later than 5 o'clock tomorrow. That'd be up to him to decide whether he wanted to do that or not, or any candidate can.
We have one more tiebreaker.
Yeah.
If you're gonna break it. Did you hear our discussion on 245? We've added another person to the tie rather than breaking it.
the one in the district and two not in the district.
Yes. So first you would have to determine, are you going to break the tie? If so, then we'll break the tie. And if you're going to determine that the two are not eligible to hold the office, and we won't break the tie, and the one that's in the member district will be the winner.
I say if they're not eligible to be in the race, then they're thrown out. Would be, that's the way I would look at it.
That's the way I look at it.
And they were writing, so the person writing it in didn't know whether they were in that
Right.
district or not.
I'm gonna say if you're not eligible to get a seat and you're voted into it, then you're.
Well, I have talked to Mrs. Walters, and that was her understanding before I called her, apparently. I've not talked to Ed because I didn't know he was gonna pop up this morning.
So out of the three, there is only one that would be actually
There is only one that
eligible.
lives in and is registered in the member district.
And then that's why.
It's the Gridley side district, basically.
But I make a motion to, go ahead.
My first question though, before you do that, is has this happened in the past? And if it has happened in the past, what was done so that you have internal consistency? And I don't know if anybody knows, but.
Well, we had this happen last year in township races where you had nobody on most of those ballots. And what we did is we did screen them.
Okay.
We looked at it, if you live in Spring Creek Township and were written in Avon, we screened you out of the results because you weren't eligible to run for or hold the office.
So I just wanted to make sure that.
The guidelines lean the other way because they're wanting it, but they also wanted us to count Mickey Mouses and Donald Ducks. And I don't think that's a good use of the taxpayers' money or time. It doesn't serve any purpose to count Mickey Mouse or someone who doesn't meet the standards to hold the office. And if we know that for sure. If we didn't know it for sure, then we would go forward and let the school board figure it out. But we know for sure who these people are and where they live and how they're registered, and they're not qualified to hold the board position.
So can we make a motion to strike the two that are not eligible?
Or just to accept
Just have
Leroy as the
USG 245.
the third.
Whichever way you want to write it,
Position.
Andy.
Move to accept Nathan Murray as a USD 245 member district number 2 for Leroy Ridley School Board as the qualified candidate of that district.
I'll make that one.
I'll second.
Don second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Final reports for you to go ahead, and these are just the, including everything.
Of each and every one of these.
There's one for, just the front page.
On each and every one available. All right.
While you're looking at that, I will throw in a plug again for our election poll workers. Those people did a tremendous job. Again, I know it was a long, boring day as opposed to a long battling day like last time. But they take that time out of their life and show up for us, and they do a terrific job, and I really appreciate it.
And the students also.
I want to sign the back page of this one.
Oh, sure, that's fine. Yeah, no.
A lot of paper.
Yeah.
A lot of work. A lot of work.
And we have reason to believe that next year is gonna be more exciting.
Yeah.
But this year was plenty exciting in its own little ways. It really shows you the value of your vote.
What was the voter turnout?
Roughly, it was about 16%, 14%.
14%.
So what was in the paper, said 14.
Yeah, I think it
Angie
was
projected 10
14.
to start with.
I did, but it kind of picked up a little bit in a couple areas.
Yeah, we had some good turnout where we had races that drew the interest in Leroy and in Lebo. Didn't have very good turnout over in Lakeview drainage district.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Turnout of 1.
Really?
But it did what it needed to do. It got board up and going, and they've got a lot of work to do. I can't believe those guys are volunteering to do that one. You need all this stuff back.
Yeah, I think it on it. Yeah, we will do that as soon as the time.
That kept us there. That's all I got.
So move to certify the results of the canvas board.
So moved.
John's moved.
Second.
Jesse seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Pick and choose.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, thanks for everything.
Joe?
I think everything went great in Leroy, and I'm sure it did every place else too.
You have
So,
a great team down there.
I'll tell you what, had 2 new students this year, fantastic, fantastic. 2 kids and the 3 ladies done a good job, as they always do.
The kids do a great job.
The kids,
Yeah.
it's a plus for them to be a part of it.
And they actually enjoy it a lot to be able to participate in something like this.
Josie, and I can't think of the boys' name, just skip you right now, but both of them done a great job.
Mitchell.
Yeah, Fuller, yeah.
anything else? Okay, move to adjourn as the canvas board at 11:11 a.m. Reconvene as board of Coffee County Commission.
So moved.
John's moved. All second. Tim seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to win that? You want? You want that back?
Sorry.
Seems she's grabbing an arm, so.
Oh.
Need a break?
You're up, get over.
Yeah, I want to get a break.
So, but I have 2 executive sessions I'll need to request, but I think there's a guest here that I think wants to come and provide a brief update to the board on at least where he is with the jail project. That's Larry Goldberg. So I think he has maybe what I call 40,000 foot view at this point. And it'll probably need to be placed on the agenda here in the next several weeks or next month to provide more detail, but I think it's just a basic overview is my understanding.
Yes.
So I'll have him come up and you can ask him questions based on what he has to say.
Good morning, everybody. Who's passed out?
Morning, Larry. How you
Good
doing?
morning, gentlemen and ladies. In reviewing the issues raised by your community at the September 8th meeting, we decided to explore a whole different direction for this project at the suggestion of several officials. And this is sort of a 5,000 foot level. In other words, from a conceptual standpoint, I am proposing that the board consider or allow us to consider a revised scope and location immediately behind this courthouse, outside the old jail area. And the drawing, the site plan shows that it actually works very well. The drawing you have is a law enforcement center rather than a justice center. In other words, it has jail housing, support facilities, law enforcement or sheriff's offices, and other related stuff. What it doesn't have is a new judicial area. And instead, we would look at that tan area of about 6,000 square feet where the existing jail currently is, immediately behind the judge's chambers, that elevator, and district court. We would look at that area possibly to renovate and utilize that space for new offices, prosecutor, maybe enlarge the second courtroom. We're gonna meet with the judges this afternoon and get into that a little bit. But I'm here to tell you that, here, I need to get a piece of paper, hold on. I feel like scribbling it on your knee on the way over.
While you're driving?
What's that?
While you're driving?
No, while I was sitting back there.
Oh.
The old Justice Center design had 11,720 square feet of basement and 37,557 square feet of main floor, giving us a total of about 49,000 square feet for that proposal, with a possible cost, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, of somewhere in the 25 to $27 million range. Okay. The new proposal that you have in front of you has about the same basement, okay, which frankly translated very well. But instead, on the main floor, it has 26,255 square feet on the main floor at a possible cost range of somewhere around 18 to 20 million. Now, if you look at the renovation of the 6,000 square feet as possibly somewhere in the 2-3 range, then it might take that up to 20 million, 20.3 million. But the point is the net savings of 4, 5, 6 million is something that specifically was challenged by some of the community members on September 8th. Now, it fits, it's linked to the back of the courthouse, works. I had hoped to be able to do a basement link as well as a ground floor link. I can't because your basement doesn't hit the outside wall. And so I would literally have to burrow underneath occupied space, and that is a mess. So I'm satisfied with the ground floor link. The other thing I want to show you, here, let me borrow this for 1 minute. Borrow this one. It's possible, I show the shaded area with reason, and that is the ability to bring a detainee from the proposed detention center into either courtroom without crossing the path of staff, judges, or the public. And that's one of the reasons why I'm showing this area here. I had originally talked to the sheriff about producing a kind of an additional secure corridor right outside the wall. But that wall, as you all know, would have your radio equipment, your transformer, generator, a ton of cables and so forth. So there's nothing doing there unless we want to move an awful lot of utilities unnecessarily. So I'm keeping it inside the exterior wall. I am here this morning to suggest respectfully that the board allow me to pursue this to its conclusion. And two, that the board consider augmenting our study with an additional, I think it was 76 or 7,800.
7,800, and I apologize, I was gonna print that off this morning to present to these guys, and I forgot.
Well, it's not,
Copy of it.
it's, I'd like the board's acquiescence on that, but it doesn't need to take place this morning.
Okay.
But mostly, I'm asking that you will allow this to be considered for all the reasons I've outlined. It's smaller, it's less expensive, it goes on property already owned by the county, frankly, where the jail has been for decades. And one last thing, because of the way I design my jails, you never see prisoners utilizing the facility. You with me? In other words, the whole housing portion, all that is behind a mechanical chase, and the windows don't line up. They're sort of oblique to each other because these guys are guaranteed 3 square feet of natural light. They are not guaranteed a view. So we can scumble the glass so it's kind of a steamy shower door effect. They get plenty of natural light. They have indoor and outdoor activities. I also purposely position the housing inboard so that it's inboard and toward the courthouse, not toward the elementary school. You with me? All that the elementary school will see is the sheriff's offices, which look like any other set of offices. So that having been said, I am asking for your support. I don't know if it needs to be formalized or simply an expression of support to pursue this further. How many beds? I've still got the same 78. Oh, you still fit 78 on this? Yeah, yes, sir. Now, the notion was whether or not that's too big for coffee. Our data suggested it is not, that you'll grow into that. But in the event that you would ever direct me accordingly, I can take a pot or two and shell it for future use and do 60 beds or 62 beds or 64 beds or 58. What kind of dollar figure does that take off? Well, not as much as you think. When we bid Lynn County's, and we were trying to get it to a more reasonable budget figure, we took 12 beds out of there for future, and we saved 400,000. So it was not chump change, but it wasn't worth it. Yeah, it'll cost 8 times that, add it later on down the road. That's right. Now, I want to tell, Mr. Chairman, I want to say something to you. We had talked about some other sites and the possibility of delaying this project. And I used a figure of 12.5% for construction inflation for an annual figure. And I'm sorry to tell you, if you've all been watching the news, the annualized inflation that this country's experiencing right now is 11 to 11.5%. So we weren't far off. So I guess what I'm suggesting is, I don't know what the future holds. I know that bond rates are very, very low, but I'm suggesting that if you all can get your arms around this concept and feel that it's worth pursuing, I'm asking that we do so with all possible speed. That the more we wait, the more expensive it's going to be.
Is this basement and single floor or part of this double floor?
The housing is like a floor and a half. You're required by ACA to have a day room or indoor outdoor activities with a minimum of 17-foot clear ceiling. We do about 18, so it's sort of a story and a half for the housing. Okay. For the rest of it, it's single story. And then under the support area, normally not under housing, but under the support area, we have a full basement with evidence, storage, an EOC, and various things that are necessary.
How many square feet's in the basement part then?
About 11,900.
The inmates is in the upper level. What is their, when they come out of their,
Inmates would never go down to the basement. Maybe you'd have some work release that might go down to bring up some supplies.
technically, they're all on one level,
They're all on one level.
not stacked on top of each other in any way.
No, the housing itself has
Okay,
a
that's what
single level and a mezzanine.
they got stairs to get down to one level.
Okay.
I know when we was over Lynn County, I'm not sure I've seen exactly how that upper level got down. But there was still a lot of construction going on with
Yeah.
concrete
It's
blocks
stairs.
and concrete, so that probably wasn't in place yet.
Now, what I would love to do also is look at, I was asking Tom H. about if we could find a mason that could point me in the direction of matching the masonry on the outside of this building. There's no reason why we can't make it blend with the courthouse, certainly in color, and then some cast stone and so forth, so the whole thing looks homogeneous.
I think the biggest thing to the last meeting we had with the public is location.
Yeah.
You know, and there was talk about it, you know, the Cadillac versus, you know, the VW Bug, you know, but, I mean, I am for building for the future of Coffee County sensibly. You know, you go save $400,000 now to move 10 pods out or 10 beds out or whatever it may be. It's gonna cost you $4 million to put it back 15 years down the road.
Absolutely.
You know,
We did this, to give you an idea, Commissioner, we built Bourbon County, Kansas this way, and designed in a 16-bed shell pod, which immediately, we barely got off the site, and the sheriff needed those beds. And there we had saved $320,000 with those 16 beds. Just the remobilization of a year later, those beds would have cost $720,000, literally a year and a half later.
Probably the only issue would be with this is parking spaces, isn't it? You know, if you got a large trial base or something. Because that does, that takes out probably 50 different parking
I
spaces.
think we've got probably plenty of parking around here. Like I say, if we need to add more parking, we can go east.
Yeah, go east. I think it may be just a little bit further than what it would be if it was just off-site, but I still think it's important to keep it here. Because everything to the west of that, that's all gonna be school parking. And probably need to be designated school parking.
But there's still street parking. We got street parking going south, we got street park going east, north.
It's definitely workable.
We're talking
And savings.
maybe once.
Yeah.
Well, and it is, the location does two things that no other location does. One is it allows you to walk detainees from detention to court, literally inside a secure corridor, without putting them in a vehicle, without driving them 2 miles down the road or something, number one. And number two is it allows you to take advantage of the courtrooms you have in this building rather than building new courts
and therefore downsizing the scope of the cost.
So basically, he's asking us to proceed with design on this, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Smith, you and your team, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it has to be satisfactory to you as well. I mean, you're the ones that are gonna be using it. I mean, it's a cost savings to the taxpayers and cost savings all the way around. Gets the new facility done.
Well, I
Are you
think
like
the sheriff has expressed his opinion that as long as the commission is willing to go along with it, we'll do what the commission has. But it does look like it's feasible.
One last comment, Tom.
Larry, you're putting a lot of people in one space, 78 if it's full, plus maybe even, cafeteria's an extra person or two. The city infrastructure, sewer, electricity, and water, totally adequate there with no shortfall. You don't have to put a sewer line in for
We
6,
think
8 months.
so, but it's something we're gonna have to check out over the next.
And it probably wouldn't be a major cost either to get in. But
Correct. The other thing I want to tell you is, I position this pretty carefully so that in the eventuality that, for instance, the elementary school someday would be relocated out to your educational complex there with the high school and junior high school, this could then literally expand out into this green space. Okay, same thing south. If you all remember on the Justice Center, I had the possibility of Coffee County taking a leadership position in the Kansas region on doing a rural mental health facility off of this corner. That possibility remains with the way that I've done this here. In fact, it actually would tie in and use that old daycare building that's now used for storage or what have you. So your options remain surprisingly, it really did work out better than I feared it would.
Anybody else want to weigh in? The only thing I can say is on our September meeting, I heard several people say, well, we don't know what it's going to cost. Well, no, we don't. I mean, with changing costs of everything, from going to the grocery store, buying a loaf of bread, to
filling up your vehicle.
Filling up your vehicle or going to the lumberyard. We don't know. We don't know no more than the farmer knows how much money he's gonna make off his beans at the end of the year. So with all that being said, moving forward sooner as opposed to later for something that seems like it's long well needed, I would say we just give him granted permission to proceed, as long as everybody's content with this layout that's been presented.
I think it's the only option to get support from the county, taxpayers. You're not gonna be 100% supported, but I think it's gonna change.
Yeah.
There's a big agreement out there that yes, we do.
I would still like to take it to the taxpayers as far as a vote. I mean, but, it's still quite a bit of money. It's still their money. So they still should have a voice. The only,
timing.
I guess the only, the timing is right of everything. And maybe this is the time for me to say that something that's been on my mind for a few weeks now. And that is that I was one of the ones, along with the previous commissioner, that pushed for our meetings being broadcast on YouTube. I pushed for it, and it became a reality. But for me, I think we can take it down just as easy as we put it back, or take it down just as easy as we put it up. The only reason I say that is because of this. We have some individuals out there that want to be keyboard warriors and just send messages, if you will, to individuals and this and that and the other.
The reason there's an open meeting and the reason it says right on here that we accept public comments each and every week is that anybody, whether from 1 to 20, can show up here and voice their opinion any given time. The part of being just a keyboard warrior, I've got no other terminology for it. Thank you very much. It's just got to stop. I mean, if you have something that detrimental you want to share with us, and we're doing that such a terrible job, I'd like to see people. I mean, there's 3 of us come up for re-election next year. Get out there and run yourself. Give it a try. I thought it was easy when I went in, and it's not as easy as it may seem. The secret letters, keyboard warriors, like I say, we can pull YouTube down as quick as we put it back, as soon as we put it back, as quick as we put it up.
Agreed.
Sorry.
What I'd
Sorry
like
to
to
use your stage for mine.
I appreciate that. I've certainly been the object of some of the comments too. What I would like to propose, to be more specific, is that I pursue this facility in terms of its basic viability, including site utilities. I'd like to reenact the idea of doing a couple of test borings out there to make sure there isn't rock or other things. We don't believe there is, but who knows what they might have hit when they originally built this courthouse decades ago. I know that it substantially changed Lynn County's scope and cost when we did hit rock shelves that earlier geotechnical would have caught, and I don't want to make that mistake. I'd also like to be able to do some exterior views so that the public, as well as you all, can get an idea of what it would look like, because it won't look the same as if we were putting it out on a greenfield site somewhere.
So can we do that?
Tie into this courthouse.
Can we do that exploration of the sewer and water prior to moving forward too much of the design and your bores and all like that before we move too far forward?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Anyhow, and then we'll come back with schematic floor plans, more detailed site plans, obviously the preliminary geotechnical report. We actually got proposals from 3 firms, and we originally asked for 10 test borings, with 3 as phase 1, and then the rest after to be held until after it went to the voters, and hopefully they would have seen the improvement. But I just don't want us hit blindsided again.
Right.
Anyhow, and then we'll do some elevations and renderings and so forth, so that everybody can see how it would look. So that being the case.
Everybody want to move forward?
Wait, jumping up and down.
Okay.
I'm not jumping up and down.
It must look like it to him.
So I just want the board to make it clear, you haven't decided this is where you're gonna build anything. You just want this site explored further.
Correct.
Because ultimately, if I understand what the consensus of the board is, you still want the voters to decide.
Yeah.
So you need to know what the site holds as far as is it a viable option before you make that decision. That's what you're asking, because the way it's been presented without clarification, I could see someone watching this and saying, oh, well, they already made the decision. So what, I thought they were gonna let us decide, us being the voters. So I just want that to be made clear. Maybe you guys can make that clear as well.
Well, that is the goal. I mean, Larry needs to determine whether utilities are sufficient, whether we got rock down there. And then we still need some more design to present to the public so that they can say, okay, yeah, this is what it's gonna look like, this is what we're gonna
just that the layout is, I mean, we have to go at least that far. So, which does take time.
The second part of that is there's been reference to two different drafts. One, option one, which, what would you call that? Or the site plan, I guess it's site plan, with the date of 11/11/2021. And just for those on the viewing side, I want to make sure everything is crystal clear and transparent to those who are watching. The second one, rendering that you've been referencing, 11/11/2021, option 1.1, existing ground floor plan. And the only reason I mention that is so that if any members of the public want to look at what is happening, these are, these are.
I get it. And I think the reason my staff did it that way is these will concentrate more on the renovation and the relationship to existing functions within the courthouse, whereas this was the proposed site plan relative to the law enforcement center itself.
That way, whoever comes in or wants to view these can talk individually with their commissioners about what they like, what they don't like, what it means, what it doesn't mean.
We do have the original drawings for that facility too. We need to get to you, unless you've already retained them.
What?
The drawings of the existing facility.
Okay.
We have those for you as well, so that you can explore those and see about renovation.
All right.
So, we proceeding?
We have to.
Is we a motion, or we just general consensus that he's gonna do the necessary explorations, if you will, of utilities and ground situations? So,
When should it actually be a motion? Because obviously at some point they're gonna need to vote to, on the additional fees.
I was gonna ask you, where did the fees come in? Because you probably need to explain why there's additional fees being requested.
we talked a little bit about it earlier. I'll let you ad lib, but we did tell everyone who's listening that we bounced you from that site to that site to that site to that site. And now we got to this site, so there's a reason for some of the extra fees. So you can take over from there.
Well, it's a new project. Obviously, I'm not starting over from square one. There's pieces from the pre-existing Justice Center that I'm translating pretty directly. But it's a new site, new juxtaposition, modified basement, obviously a substantially modified sheriff's offices and support, and finally, a completely different exterior. What I tried to do was keep it as small or as painless as possible. It was somewhere around 7,000 to 12,000 in terms of fees. So obviously, I took the more modest approach, and that's what I'm asking for.
It was 7,800, but like I say, I did not print anything off, and I apologize for that. So can I put that into motion, or do we need something other than just approved pay?
I think we need something besides, Wade's the final voice, but I think we need something besides just a voice or consensus. To me, it needs to be a motion in some form.
You're talking about taxpayer money, so you need to have it in a motion that it's designated.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to have any discussion on it, but I'm not the final voice.
Okay. Well, then.
You are.
Sorry, I keep looking at you. I'm just looking at you, see whether or not it's gotta be a motion. So, everybody understand what the additional fees are about and why they're about? Does anybody want to discuss any of those?
Incidentally, this is included in a memo from me to Tom that all of you would have had access to a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't remember if you sent it to all of us or just me, so I apologize.
Which we didn't, so.
Again, it was $7,800 in additional fees. I can print it off and present it next week, and if we move on then, or we can do it now.
Now, let's clear this up then. This $7,800 additional fees to do this drawing, or this is for previous stuff that you already have done?
For this line,
For this project?
moving forward.
Okay.
Everything else in my contract with Coffee County remains the same. In other words, the participation in meetings and public presentations, explaining all this gobbledygook, all that remains unchanged. All it is literally dropping into the middle of this thing, the new site and the new scope that we've been talking about.
And like you said, much of the work that you've already done is gonna come into this. That way you can do it for a nominal cost of $7,800 too.
Yes.
Is the way I look at it. Because you're not throwing a lot of the other information away.
That's right.
It'll all be, some of it will be a part of
The housing remained the same.
Yeah.
I literally took it and flipped it and rotated it.
Will this include, as we move along in this process, as far as public meetings, will you be there also with us through this process?
Yes.
So what if we do this? What if we, like I say, it was just a virtual email? I mean, there was no actual form for signatures of acceptance on it. So what if we get something made up like that before we actually make a motion, and that way I'll have something to sign?
That's fine.
You wanna do that? Let's do that.
I was just kind of searching through my email, seeing if I had it, but I don't see it.
No, it probably just got sent to me, and I just,
I
apologize.
What if we just approve to have him proceed on with it? We're basically approving it, and then he can just send us a voucher for it, and we pay it,
Will that work?
just like we do anything else.
Will that work for everybody? I'm fine with that.
If it works for him.
I can agree with that.
I'm just trying to make it as
Simple as possible.
legit and legal as possible.
Okay, well then I guess we just need him official direction to move on with it.
Proceed. We don't need to do a motion, we'll just proceed. When he sends us a voucher, we'll pay. Okay. That works.
Okay, so you're not gonna make a motion, or you're considering this to
To
be?
me,
We're just, we all agree that to let you proceed, you give us a voucher for the $7,800, we'll sign it and pay.
Okay.
is that satisfactory enough way without going to a motion?
I'd rather see a motion.
I think we need
because
a, my opinion, I think we still need a motion.
So there's a,
We need a trail.
yeah, I think there needs to be a trail, but that doesn't have to be done right now. Right now, you've given them the green light to move forward. When you're talking about what his fee structure is, he's indicated approximately $7,800 if you leave it open. Not that Larry would do this, but next thing you know, it's 12,000. So you want to have something that has parameters that you
Not
can
to exceed
go back.
$8,000.
And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if there was something that,
Well, wait, let me suggest this too. It wasn't just relative to my fee. I'm in this for the long haul with you all. And it was this. It was the idea that the board was serious about, number one, hearing what its constituents had suggested they didn't like about the previous deal. And two, that in response, you were supportive of a new direction for this project without walking away from the project at all, but that it would be a smaller scale, reduced cost, hopefully, and a new location. And I didn't want to namby-pamby it. I wanted to come together, and this was why I asked Tom to find just a few minutes on your schedule this morning, so that those hearing this could hear the direction the project could take. If there were further objections, they could come out, or if frankly, there was, as I'm hoping, and I'm sure you are too, increased support for this direction for all the reasons we've talked about, they would make that known too. Time's a wasting, guys, and the problem is, in the current situation, we can price ourselves right out of the market. And again, when I did Saginaw County, 500 beds, and I built that facility for 38 million. And 4 years later, it cost 58 million to build a similar facility in Woodbury County. This is real, this is serious. And I just don't want to see this opportunity get squandered because we didn't respond to the urgency of the issue. So that was another reason why I asked Tom, without getting into specific layouts or diameter of gas lines or any of that. I wanted you all to see that this possibility works.
Okay, with that, we'll make a motion to pay Goldberg Associates an additional fee of $7,800 to proceed with the new location.
I'll move.
Just move. All seconds, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Larry.
You take a quick break.
Okay. Take your break.
10 minutes.
Be back here at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Were you one of the judges? I didn't think you probably were second. Who's this from? He's already here. Yeah.
He didn't tell me it was right.
This is there.
Right.
Because he told me he had it and forgot to get it.
Here you
I already got Tom last week.
Full size one? I got a card.
Thank you, Eric.
You bet, Don.
Anything you want. I'll send it to me. Except for your request for more money. You mean three? At three? Did you be there?
No, you're certainly welcome to join us.
There's all that. Just all the projects we've had around.
Go up. Time for lunch.
Anyway.
Lunch?
Kurt, by the way, we're doing a little bit on the mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you in person. Is that going pretty well?
Yeah, modern everyone showed up.
Did you feel like building it? Everything's fine.
I think so. Well, I mean, I haven't talked to Andrea lately. She's kind of in charge of it, so to speak.
Okay.
I think they were waiting on some actual equipment.
Okay. Yeah, shipping has been bad.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I haven't heard anything. I talked to Jeff every now and again. It's all going well, so that's good.
Yeah. Appreciate you doing that.
Sure, and I look forward to working with you on this one.
Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Larry, appreciate you coming. Appreciate that.
Larry, thank you.
I'm Don East. Kurt.
Hi. How are you? Good, how are you? Good.
Yeah. You know how much that costs? Oof. Yeah, a lot. Thank you for the break. It was needed. Pleasure, yeah. I gave him a clip, but.
Oh, that was too big.
Yep.
Rough.
One more time.
Wade, I guess they're all back from their break. If you want to proceed, if you want to do whatever you want to present.
So a couple things, maybe just a quick follow-up on your email comments. One thing I'll mention related to emails. There are a number of emails that come in that are directed to the commissioners. And I'm copied on, I'm sure I don't see all of the emails that are directed to the commissioners that I'm not a part of, but in some of the emails, there are questions to the commissioners that seem to indicate a response is being requested by email. And to those who send those emails, there is no response because that's not the appropriate forum to make those requests. So if anybody has any questions, as Commissioner Hugan indicated, this is the appropriate forum, the appropriate time, the appropriate place to either come in and stand in front of the podium and ask your questions so that the entire county community can see what questions are being asked and what those responses are. So it's not done by email. It's just not the appropriate way to do that. And there is no legal requirement that an email that's sent to the commissioners is responded to in that form or format. So.
Well, I apologize if I worded myself incorrectly, but that's kind of what I'm referring to, I guess, that the you're not doing your job right type thing and this and that and the other. I mean, I don't know. I would rather see a group of 20 people out here telling me I'm not doing my job right and figure out a way to get me gone as opposed to just send me the email and tell me.
Sure.
So, please.
And, so email is a good form of communication, but in this instance, because you meet and you serve at the pleasure of the people, and the only time and place you can take any binding action is when you're sitting like you are right now, not individually. So if you receive an email and one of you responds, then do you get into potential serial communication and then sort of a violation of the Open Meetings Act, not intentionally, but serial communication. That's just, so to respond would create its own potential issues. And that's another reason why you come in and you do it here. A couple of years ago, there was, back before the board met downstairs, when we were upstairs, there was a request made by me to see what the legal parameters were of what could and could not occur during an open meeting. And one of the things that was brought up is there is no requirement that anybody be allowed to speak. And the board chose and has continued to choose to allow people to show up. And if they have comments and want to say anything, then that they have the right to do so. And that still continues to be the board's position, and that's why it's on the agenda. So the public has the opportunity to have their voice presented to this board so that questions can be made to the board as a whole or individually, and then so answers can be provided so that everybody can see what those questions and answers are.
And again, I was one of the ones that helped or pushed to get this televised, so to speak, and for transparency reasons. And if I'm basically talking to people via email, that's not very transparent.
And there is no requirement that it be on YouTube. That's something that is done for transparency purposes. And not every county does it. There's a number of places that don't do it, but there are a growing number that do, that this board chose at that time to do so.
Thank you.
This capital improvement plan just gave to me to just look at. So if I understand, $50,300 for additional service fees, and then an additional hourly fee for engineering on-call services, up to a maximum of $30,000.
Yeah, and Bobby was down here earlier, and we need to probably do something to make sure that the project don't get drug out for another year and a half. That things, we kind of put a timeline, if you will.
So at least
now, the extra fees would be like if there was a project that needed to be designed. I believe that's what those were about. So I mean,
but I guess the document that you would sign would appear to me to include $50,300 and then up to $30,000 extra for a total of potentially $80,300.
which is for
The
capital improvement.
We all presented that last week. Oh, okay. So, you know, all we need to do, we need to say who it was. I'm trying to think of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who it was.
Good question.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
I refer to it as the capital improvement plan, but it's the top sheet dated November 5th that sort of goes through the scope. So if you were going to sign something, it would potentially include up to $80,300. And I don't know if you want that further defined or you need a little more time, but. And that's maybe.
Yeah, with that being said, maybe I need to call. This is 20.
It's not saying those things will happen or will occur, but it's saying that's what the maximum would be at 30,000.
Well, he's got a list of additional on-call services, stakeholder meetings, Spirit Trail representative.
Sure.
So those are things we'd have to ask him to do, we have to approve at that time, so.
I would say you just would be approving right now the top portion,
Correct.
50,300.
So that,
So, but it doesn't really actually say that, so.
yeah. I mean, I think in that same paragraph, it also says additional service fees. So we're talking about two that say additional. So,
Correct.
so maybe define it a little better so you know what that initial cost is, not to exceed 50,300 if that's what it is. Then they would have to make a request or send.
To go to stakeholder meetings with KDOT. In other words, they'd be representing us at KDOT meetings, Kansas Park and Wildlife Parks, grant writing. To me, the way I understood it when they came and met with us would be 50,000 would get basically shovel-ready projects in the works to where we could go to stakeholder meetings, Spirit Trail representatives, but I can talk to Monty and clarify that some more. Would that be more advisable?
I mean, if you're the one who would be putting your signature on it, so I think you probably want to be comfortable with what it says.
I will.
My understanding is we only was approved at 50,000.
Correct. But I mean, it does have on here if I sign this. But again, they should seek our permission to go to some of these extra meetings and do any sort of grant writing.
So that's just my.
Okay. Let me get with Wayne, make him have, or ask him, I should say, contact Monty and we'll just get this writ a little bit different. Okay. Thanks for looking that over.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. That's why I look your way and want to know if I gotta make a motion or not.
Right. So I'm gonna request 2 executive sessions, each one for 2 different subject matter areas. The first one, 10 minutes, myself and the board to discuss non-elected personnel. And that's under that exception to the Open Meetings Act. The specific subject matter is an internal employee issue that violate privacy rights to discuss it in open.
For 10 minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Tim's moved.
Second.
Jesse seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're going at 12:10 for 10 minutes.
And the second one will be for 15 minutes.
One thing I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
We hired Heartland to sell our equipment.
Yes.
Have we sent a notice to the other two firms that we've accepted Heartland?
No, as long as you officially sign
I think we need to follow up, because next year maybe a different,
it. Right.
we need to follow up, let them know.
Okay, yes, I can do
One place here, it's kind of stuck together. Couple of them got stuck together, but I think those are all, I think they're all solid.
I don't know.
So,
Is that agreement that was approved a couple weeks ago? And it was just, we didn't have the original on hand to be signed.
we are back.
As I alluded to several minutes ago, request a second executive session, myself and the board, 15 minutes, and this is to sort of a hybrid one, but it's to discuss the preliminary acquisition of real property by the county. And the hybrid part of it is legal advice, so I go in under the preliminary discussion.
For 15 minutes. Don's moved,
All second.
Tim seconded. We're going at 12:25 for 15 minutes.
Last time I was in those tires myself, I couldn't work for the darn. Which is amazing. I'm just glad I didn't get stuck in them, because you wasn't supposed to be there.
I can imagine you doing something you weren't supposed to do.
That was a long, long time.
I'll keep them up, shut
We are back. So, most people, everybody's pretty much on file. Where's Pete? Pete not coming back?
What?
Peterson. I've always called him Pete.
I don't know. He didn't say.
Not here. Okay, all right.
He'll have a way to get the information.
Okay. As everybody's aware, we've been scrambling for space in the courthouse here. Suggestion was to relocate the Ag Extension office with possible building a new facility at the fairgrounds. With a cost estimate that the engineer had at $900,000, which I was putting it somewhere between 7 and 9, but irregardless, a new piece of property has come up that would be just as suitable for the Ag Extension. According to Darrell and Jill, they both toured the facility, and it's be a good location for a cost of $150,000. So major cost savings to taxpayers, and it's still a very suitable facility for Ag Extension. Creates some space here. Facility would be across from Bumgar's. There's the old Herder eye doctor building. It came up for sale here a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to proceed in purchasing that. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
All I can say is when you come from $800 or $700 to $900,000 down to $150 for a piece of property, and that's a big savings.
Understand there'll be a little some remodeling, but still the cost savings is a good deal.
And there's still, I mean, we decide to move further down the line with the drawings on the facility at the fairgrounds. I mean, you could downsize it tremendously, and you wouldn't need interior finishes. You just need a building basically with some insulation and a couple bathrooms, and that could be done. I forget what size you was talking about, Darrell, 30 by 50 or something like that.
That would scale down to about 60 by 50.
Yeah, I mean, still it'd be, you could do both of them for less than 500,000 probably, just guessing, so. Anyway, so need a motion to enter an agreement to purchase the piece of property.
So I'll make the motion.
Apologize, I did not, I thought I'd handed the contracts over to Wade, so now I don't remember the exact name of the real estate agent, but I don't know if all that needs to be pertinent information or just make a motion for me to sign into an agreement with the sellers on that particular piece of property.
The realtor was Caldwell Banker.
Caldwell Banker.
And Mark Wade was the movie.
Mark Wade, that's correct.
Still with.
Jesse's moved.
I'll second.
And seconded. Any discussion? Anything anybody else want to add? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. I'll get a hold of Mr. Blake.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Jesse, then Tim. 5-0.
I've got something I need to give to you.
Okay, that's fine.
I think the facility is gonna be, very substantial for extension, and from comments, I guess you're, open to further discussion with the Fair Board about the Crops building, hopefully.
I am open, I myself, because I know what the existing facility, the condition it's in, so.
Right, and then that was one of the concerns whenever we started this whole process, was the fact that it is somewhat of a health risk for anyone going in there at this point in time. I was instructed whenever we found out about the other building to put a halt to all of the architectural work and that sort of thing. So I did that.
Okay.
They have submitted an invoice for their work to this point, so that's all I've got here. I'll just present that, give that to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just pay that out.
All right, you covered that.
I owe you.
Yeah, there you go. Money's in, or checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Fax it.
Okay, all right.
Like I say, you and Jill have toured this new facility and find it very satisfactory with some minimal renovations.
With some renovations.
Yeah, I think it's a major cost savings.
Oh, yeah,
And,
it is. So, yeah, and I think it'll be more than substantial for what we need to do. So, and a really good location, because a lot of farmers and ranchers go into Beauregard.
You bet.
Well, then you get the USDA office or the ASCS office right across the way.
Oh, yeah, just down the street. There's a lot of advantages to the location.
I see a lot of positive in it, so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Good luck. I know they said the closing wouldn't be till the end of the year, so.
End of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
In the contract deal, so.
Okay.
Be
Um,
give them a chance for the people that enter now to get their stuff going
Sure.
and ample time to do that, so. I said right at the December 30th, by the time the closing date, so.
Okay. All right, all right, I'm sure we'll be in for the contact.
All right.
Anyway, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That being said, we have a few items to sign. Do you have anything for roundtable?
I do, so last week with the election and everything that was going on, I forgot to open the one bid we received for the county auction, so I'll open that now if you are ready. Go ahead.
Bid we received. Oh, for your.
For next April.
Okay, all right, all right.
Each one is all you received.
That's all we received, yeah. And it would have been for Kurt's auction and realty. So, it's on a scale, 8% for anything sold after the first 40, and it goes down to 10% for anything sold after the first 10, 15 for the next 5, and 20 for the first 5 in sales. 20%.
That's the way with most of them anymore. The less they sell, the higher the percentage is.
About that. And then, Friday's the Thanksgiving dinner down here in the basement.
This Friday?
Andrew's gonna have everything set up. We're picking up, Brad's bringing the food in. We're getting the extra items of salad, pies, and rolls and butter. And so we'll be good to go. And it's a come and go this time. Maybe next year might be back to normal, but
That came up fast.
yeah.
Thanksgiving's right around the corner. You better get my Christmas gift box.
Mine too.
Isn't it next week, Thanksgiving? Or is it this week?
Next week, yes.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it'll be this Friday.
It's the Thanksgiving dinner and the next week is Thanksgiving.
With that in mind, do you think it'd be a good time, since we'll probably need this area and stuff, to go upstairs?
I don't care, I'm not scared of it.
Are you, your election stuff's over? And
Yeah, we can have everything out this week, at the end of this week.
I'm for it. I don't have any problem moving forward with going back up. I think unless something's changed,
Brad might need some time.
it takes, the delay to the public is 2 or 3 hours. it won't be
Live stream,
live streaming like this now.
which that's not a big deal.
To me, that's not an issue.
Things still criticize
Sorry.
you.
To me, it's not an issue. I'm ready to move on.
I've never been up there.
Go for and take a look around.
You neither, you Jesse.
Well, let's present it to Brad before we go do that, make sure he's got ample time. So I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, if Brad has time, this stuff will be broke down anyway. If he has time, for it, all we gotta do is basically take some books and some chairs up there, so. Other than what he's gotta do.
Well, let's leave it up to Brad and Angie and.
If it works out, be up there
Well, it
next
works
month.
All we have to do is tell Brad we want to do it. That's all it amounts to.
Well, true, but I don't know if you got enough time to, I don't know what he's gotta do to, technical wise to.
I'm not sure he's got much to do.
None of this stuff, I think everything is already there.
It probably is, but.
We got a week to do it.
I'll hit him up as soon as we're done. I mean, if it all works out, we'll be up there Monday. If not, we'll be up there the following Monday. How's that?
That'll work.
All right.
Be stated on our email.
Okay. Everybody content? Okay with it? Awesome.
That's good.
That's scary. Not really scary, just been down here for so long, you'll feel kind of weird, huh?
Maybe feel more like it should.
Yeah.
This has worked out well down here, though.
It's worked out.
This has worked out well, but I think it's time to get back up.
He probably heard us.
I'm sure he did.
He'd probably be glad not have to do all of this.
Exactly.
He's probably got us mic'd in.
Right, Brad?
Move up there. The cameras and everything are still there, it's all set up. All you have to do is flip the switch, push the button, and start like you did before.
Well, we got a couple hour delay on people being able to see it, 3 hours, which
Yeah.
to me is not a problem.
Yeah, it's a couple, 2-3 hours at least. I have to upload it to YouTube, and
Right.
YouTube converts it,
Right.
and then it's live.
And you do that after the meeting's over.
Yes.
You upload it to YouTube, so it's later in the day before they can actually see it, so.
Correct.
At least they can see it, we're still being transparent.
Yeah.
So,
Might boost productivity in the county.
So Tim, take your chair up here today.
And then I can't sit there and listen to you when you come down here.
Very
We'll have to call you.
So, and you're okay with?
Yeah, we can make things work.
Okay. With that being said, will you need help getting stuff transferred?
No, I'll get that moved up there.
Well, we can help with some of that.
We can help.
Yeah. Whenever Angie's ready for us to invade, if you will, why we'll
Yeah, I'll let you know when we got everything out.
send us out an email saying what day you're gonna. Won't take more than a couple hours, I doubt.
I think we can get in here Wednesday. I think we can get in here Wednesday.
Okay.
And I don't know how to set it, I don't know where everything goes. So,
Depends on, I know you're on the very end over there.
I'm coming to this
Me,
Pretty much this order right here.
yeah, just like it is when it starts over there.
and everything that's on the tables here is on the table there, because it doesn't seem like there's quite a bit.
Well, there's counters behind us. That's why I say I can take care of mine.
Okay.
I can take care of mine.
Okay, well, that works. That
You and
makes
I
sense.
don't wanna be here,
We
so.
don't take care of our own stuff, basically. I think we're all.
Yeah. As soon as Angie gives us a green light to invade, we'll do so.
Okay,
That'll help
sounds
you out.
good. Yeah, that makes that easy.
You got everything signed there, Timothy?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Oh, just one, oh, sorry. Just,
You're fine.
let's say just one quick little thing, on the air conditioner, modern air's been back out a couple of times because the sheriff's office was really hot over there, but the computer wasn't showing it hot. So they think it's something in the software, so they're checking into it right now. They've got it so that it's working and it's keeping them cool over there when it shouldn't have been hot, but it was really hot in there the other day when it was cold outside. So they're working on it, so. I don't know how much of a project it's gonna turn out, but they think it's not mechanical, but it's the software and what it's telling it to do.
Technology.
That was my only other thing, is that that's something that they're still looking into.
As long as it's being looked into, that's all that matters.
The only other thing I want to make sure is I've got the board's approval to approach Ryan and Arbonia Township to see about maybe doing some mile swapping in the northern end.
For another,
I think it brings would be a plus for both counties.
I think it would work.
I've never been on that road, so.
Okay, I'll start on that.
okay. Anything else? Not, we will adjourn at 12:57.
Did you adjourn?